Carroll County Commissioners meeting to order for June 10th, 2015. The first item on the agenda is public input. Do we have any public input this morning? No? Okay. Then approval of the minutes.
I've got some housekeeping on that, because I've got minutes from the 13th and the 19th that haven't been signed.
I got the 19th, haven't been signed, yeah.
So, you guys have the 13th also?
I don't have the
Well,
14th.
I want you to review the 13th. I signed them, and then, but we gotta sign a raft of minutes here, we got a little behind.
Well, David, could I ask Melissa a question?
Go ahead.
I sent you an email, or you sent me an email, and we were discussing corrections. We got that, is this to straighten out that?
Yes, I just put it all on a single.
Because I had a sign, a set downstairs for one of the, either the 19th or the 27th, that didn't have the corrections in it. And I was under the impression that we give you the corrections, you
Right.
make them, and then we sign the corrected sheet.
Right,
And that hadn't happened.
so one of the things that you'd asked for last week is that a sentence be taken out of the May 19th.
Yes.
I left it in the May 19th and clarified it in the 27th, because it was said at the meeting, so I felt that the May 19th was an accurate reflection, but on May 27th, you clarified the calendar issue. So that first paragraph on that yellow paper,
That's right, it was
Clarifies
the
that.
19th, and it was something to do about Kathy getting on vacation, and
yeah,
I made the comment that we knew because it was on the calendar.
so I think
And so you made the correction on the 27th.
those are my suggested corrections, if you adopt, or if you accept those corrections, I
Oh,
can
for the
make them.
27th, okay.
That was. I just hesitate to go back and delete things out of the meeting minutes if they actually did happen. And it can always be clarified the next week.
Yeah, okay.
Melissa, we've got, on the meetings on the 19th, we've got an article in here about the, how much money we have left for auditing. I've got some more current information on that, so when we finish this, I'd like to update the group and have you put in today's minutes
Okay.
the most current status on our expenditure for the audit.
You didn't sign that one.
Thank you.
Didn't I just give you one that was signed?
That's the one you just gave me. May 13th. You want to review May 13th so we can approve that?
Oh, I had signed the 19th, yeah, you're right, I'm sorry.
Okay. We're looking at May 13th right now. Did we get the,
I think that you already approved those, you just need to sign them. Yeah, if you look on the May 19th, it says you already approved the May 13th.
These were approved, David.
Okay, they haven't been signed, Dave, that's my reason for passing them out.
Do we want to sign the draft? It says draft, do we want to sign it?
Yeah, that's fine, yeah.
That's what you do. Okay. It's been a while.
yeah, did you get the minutes back to us the last time
Good.
on time? Can I borrow your pen, David? Okay. I need to put a date on there when that was approved.
Are you signing the 19th, Dave?
That's the one that we've, this is the one you left them in,
That's the one you made the correction to, right, Melissa?
And then you corrected them with the 27th.
Right, I left them alone,
Yeah.
but clarified it in the 27th, so. Unless,
I got a question, is it improper or not correct to put a note in here that might say, check May 27th, for corrections? So that the person that picks this up, person that came in here and for some reason wanted to read these minutes, would have no idea that there was any corrections made. None.
Do we care? As long as they're accurate, do we care?
Well, the corrections haven't been made.
Oh, I see, oh, to that one.
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
The
yeah,
corrections are in May 27th, so
okay.
where you guys say you didn't know that
Oh,
Kathy was on
Got
vacation.
it, got it.
You know, is it wrong to say, see May 27th minutes for corrections?
No,
Yeah.
I think it's,
I'll file this in with the minutes.
I think if you put that on there easy enough.
Yeah. and
But
I'll
when I
file
went
it.
through some of the public minutes, there was a corrected copy with it.
Okay,
So there was 2 pages of,
Well, that's
Okay.
fine, because then if you're reading and you're looking something up, let's say there was looking for something and it wasn't accurate and had been corrected the next week,
I hear you, Dave.
you wouldn't know.
Yeah, I'm gonna file this with the minutes, so we have a copy of it.
so from now on, I can just put a footer at the bottom of each set of minutes on the last page that says something like to be approved at the, whatever the next date of the meeting is. So then when people are reading those, they can go to the next one to see if they were approved and if there were any changes. Is that what you're asking for?
Yeah,
Okay.
but that's
Yeah.
well, I guess that's not a problem.
Because they are stamped draft. And then-
I personally like this idea much better. If the corrections are made, staple them together and put them in there. Have you highlighted in yellow,
yeah,
like you've done, it's so easy to figure out.
Okay. They were a lot
Okay.
this time for some reason.
are we looking at May 27th?
Yes. And I will make a motion that we approve the May 27th minutes as corrected.
And the corrections are,
Attached on
page,
this
yeah.
page.
okay.
Correct, as corrected on sheet attached, page 1.
Okay. Second it. Any further discussion? All those in support of the motion say aye.
All right,
Aye.
And then after the meeting,
did he lose his voice yodeling in Switzerland?
No, I'm,
You want to sign that one?
well, I wasn't here for that one, so I don't have
Oh,
to
okay.
comment on. You see it says absent there?
so after the meeting adjourned, you reconvene under the emergency meeting statute.
Yes,
So here's that.
Okay.
okay.
Get rid of this page.
Oh, I'm sorry,
What do you got?
I'll make a motion, we accept, we accept the
May 27th.
emergency meeting, May 27th minutes. And at that emergency meeting for the tape.
I'll second it.
We were, thank you, David. We were required to appoint a deputy, or reappoint a deputy county treasurer, and we only had till June 1st to do it, and it was May 27th. And we realized it after we'd closed the morning meeting, so we had an emergency meeting, and all we did was approve Chip Albee again as the deputy treasurer.
By the way, he is going on 3 weeks vacation, so we're gonna be short a treasurer to sign checks. He's leaving on the 15th.
And we don't have
We don't
an
have an
assistant to
assistant.
the assistant.
I wonder if we can get away with 3 of us signing the checks.
Yeah, one of us is gonna have to do payroll for those, in one of those, but
Yeah.
1 or 2 of those weeks also, okay. Do we have to vote on that for the 3 of us to?
Did
I
you
don't know,
vote?
we've never done this before.
I wonder what the covenants, what the banks say. Does it have to be a treasurer, or can it be?
On the checks, payroll checks, it is, does say
It says
treasurer.
treasurer.
And we don't, I didn't ask downstairs, we don't have a stamp for him, I don't believe.
No, we don't.
Yeah, well, the treasurer's got, I do know from talking to Jack, has to be a live signature.
Okay.
Does, okay. Well, we're gonna have a problem. The delegation should have
Appointed a treasurer.
appointed a treasurer when they had the opportunity to do that.
Can we appoint an assistant?
I wonder if we could do that. But then all the bank cards and everything else has gotta be done for him.
They gotta sign the sheets that get authorizes their signature.
Yep, yep.
Well, I suggest the first thing we do, David, is have you as chairman call the bank and explain to
Okay.
them the situation and ask if this time around if they'll accept 3 commissioners' signatures. If they won't do that, I suggest you start increasing your grocery list. So we'll be able to feed these employees when they run out of money.
Oh, I see, okay. Okay, the 19th minutes were approved, right?
Yes.
And you got a copy of it?
Yeah, I got everything. I got the 27th, the 19th, the 13th, and the special meeting.
Okay, we're all up to date,
Non-public.
non-public?
Those are not sealed.
I'll make it, oh, Dennis hasn't seen them yet.
What?
Denny hasn't seen those, I don't think.
Well, he wasn't here.
Oh, absent, yeah. Make a motion, we approve the minutes of, the non-public minutes of session 1 of 1 on May 27th, and that they remain unsealed.
I'll second it. All those in support of the motion say aye.
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 Melissa, I missed the meeting on the
Oh,
27th, but it was my impression that we had some non-public meeting minutes that had not been approved before I left. Were they approved while I was gone? Do you know what?
They did approve a couple of sets. I have to look at the 27th minute.
Because I don't have those, and I don't know where they are.
Oh, I have them.
You have them?
They gave them to me to give to you.
Okay, good, thank you.
And
Just
then,
for that reason, so we
Yeah.
wouldn't lose them.
Yeah.
you guys also met on June 3rd with the hiring panel for the county administrator?
Yes.
Did that meeting happen, so someone needs to do minutes for
Lynette
that?
did the minutes for that.
Okay.
yeah.
All
And
right.
I was absent. Mr. Chairman, do you have the treasurer here? Can we have
Yes.
him?
He missed the discussion because he got here late, but we'll go
I
back.
don't consider myself a member of the public.
We'll go back. What are we gonna do when you leave on vacation?
Don't spend any money. It's easy.
We won't.
Don't pay the help. I have a signing stamp.
You do.
Yeah. I'm still not clear that you have an appointment for me. There should have been a recommendation from the treasurer.
There was.
Was there?
There was a recommendation from the treasurer to appoint you assistant treasurer when he was treasurer,
Okay,
okay, and we approved that.
all right. Any activity at all on appointing the treasurer,
Next meeting, they said,
which is when?
September.
it's up to them.
And the 27th last, I've lost track, whether it was 2 Fridays ago, I guess. We as a board had held an emergency meeting and reappointed you the acting treasurer. The
We had-
question is, Chip, and I was always told by Jack that on the wage checks, had to be a live signature. Do you know whether that's true or not?
One of you has to sign as well.
Right, but does yours, he always said that his, I asked him why he was doing it, he said because the
Well, and all of
treasurer
the-
has to have a live signature.
Right, one of the signatures on all the checks that goes out has to be a real person.
Oh, so it doesn't have to be the treasurer?
No,
Are you sure of that?
yeah,
Okay.
but if, if I'm gone, one of you guys has to sign on those.
On the payroll side, right?
There's
Okay.
only, there's one payroll, I think, that,
That you,
that I'll miss.
Okay.
Miss.
okay.
That wasn't the problem. We thought you, or I thought, and led these folks to believe that the treasurer had to be a live signature, and that was causing the problem. If it can be one of us, I can come in and sign.
Well, you
it.
can't sign as the treasurer, obviously, on the payroll,
But there's only 2 lines in there.
too, right?
So do we use your stamp and a live signature on the payroll?
Right.
Okay.
And then on the regular checks, you can't just all stamp, one of you's gotta actually.
So 2 stamps and
make
1
your
live
X.
on the regular checks.
Do you use
Yeah.
a stamp or do you sign yours?
I use a stamp, but we can
Okay,
sign one of those and use 2 stamps on those, so, okay.
I mean, it would be a lot nicer if we had somebody
Yep,
All right.
absolutely.
along the way, but we don't.
we
See, if
don't,
you would have sent in a good resume, you would have been appointed.
I sent them my resume.
I know you did.
The problem is that I don't function like the dysfunctional Republicans.
whoa, let's keep this,
They
let's
can't
keep
make
this,
a decision, they certainly can't make a deal.
Yeah, we've heard that before.
And my other point that I sent you, I signed the check last time, but I'm not gonna sign it again. If we're paying someone's personal expenses,
right,
we reimburse them. We don't pay the company. Like if you charge a room somewhere
yeah,
on your Visa card,
yeah,
we're not gonna pay your Visa bill, we're gonna pay Dave Sorensen, or Commissioner Sorensen. You had asked that the phone bill for the county attorney be paid. And I'm just really uncomfortable paying Verizon with a
you look,
Tom Dewhurst bill.
Yeah.
I don't mind paying, I mean, you authorize paying the bill, that's fine with me, but
You want the check to go to
it
Tom?
needs to go to Tom, right? We need to
Okay.
not have it go paying personal bills on the county checkbook.
would you, inform Kathy Armstrong of that?
Yeah,
Cause she'll make out the checks. Okay.
it won't happen for another month, but just so that we're all on the same page. And I'll be back on the 10th,
Have fun.
so,
10th
Scotland.
of December?
10th of July.
Just open.
I wish it was the 10th of December. We were thinking about the last time that we went away for more than a week. My wife went out, it was 1970.
Yeah, but that was just in New Durham.
Thank you.
You have relatives in Scotland?
I do.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, my brother-in-law and sister have a house there.
Up around Edinburgh or?
Inverness,
Oh,
we're up in the Highlands.
yeah, beautiful up there. Yeah, have fun.
Yeah,
I'll bring you back some scotch.
Good. Yeah. I like that single malt.
I won't hold my breath like I did with that cord of wood for $1, $5.
We never did that.
You never did that, did you?
We need to do that measurement.
Yep. Okay. All right, we got that cleared up. What else we got?
Can I just bring you up to date on these audit fees, because it's top of
Yes.
mind?
Yes.
I sat down with Kathy Armstrong, and we reviewed the nursing home budget. And if you look at the budget, it says legal and audit.
That's the line that,
And there's $10,000 left.
Yeah.
So here's we owe Bulio $45,000. So we are gonna take 10 out of the nursing home, which brings it down to 35, okay? If we get a legal bill,
what are we gonna pay it out of?
it's gonna come out of that line item, audit and legal, which means then we'd be down 45. So,
We are gonna get a legal bill for the nurse that's taking us to court.
okay, so what happens now is that $10,000 that's remaining, it's a double, it says audit and legal.
And legal, yeah.
And legal. So if we use that $10,000 for the legal expenses of the nursing home, that line item goes to zero. That means that we're short $45,000 on the audit line for Bulio for this year, okay?
Yeah.
So over budget 45,000. So I said 30 last time, but I've got more information since, so it's,
And that was the line item that Kathy told me they took something out of when I thought it should have come out of the commissioner's line item.
okay. Well, anyways, we're down to 10. When I talked to Kathy Armstrong last Thursday when I did checks.
Okay.
And if you guys are correct in saying that we're gonna have legal expenses going against that line item, now we have a $45,000 issue on
And
over
the
expense
the
on audit.
delegation gave us 7,000 to add to legal. You figured that in there somewhere. And they put that in, I believe, into the commissioner's budget.
That went into the commissioners to cover the shortfall
Yeah.
in our legal
Yeah.
expenses.
Yeah, so we,
Which reminds me on that subject, guys, I made up a form, I don't know whether you saw it, just so we could keep a record of where we were requesting money transfer from what line item to what line item, and a place for us to sign it and a place for the delegation to sign it. We wanna make sure, please, sometime that you sign it for the $7,000
okay,
transfer that we
okay,
took away from HR.
okay,
And we'll start a book and just keep them in there.
okay.
We'll have a record.
Can I just ask, just for some clarification, I remember at the delegation meeting when they were approving the budget, the question came up if that was enough money in the budget to pay the auditors.
What,
And the finance manager said, yes, it was going to be enough, the amount in the budget. Did something remarkable happen that caused us to be over $45,000? That's different, that we didn't know about in March? You know?
I called up the audit firm and I said, I wanted how much we had paid to date, how much the expenses were gonna be in the future. I don't know, when we originally signed the deal, I don't know if he was budgeted to do the MS 45, which he's done for 2 years. But Mark McConkey asked me if we would get, he said, I think you're gonna be short on the audit fee. Will you get your best estimate on what it's gonna be? And I've been chasing that down ever since. And the itemized what we're gonna be paying between now and when we finish the audit versus what we had in the budget, what we spent in the budget, what was encumbered in the budget, and when you net it all out, is $45,000. To try to track the pieces back to where it was, I didn't take the time to do it. I looked at what the exposure is, and it's 45.
Thank you for clarifying.
I don't see where we have anything in our budget, unless it's under operation. Shouldn't be.
For what, Dave?
Legal and audit.
Now,
Commissioner's budget.
No, that's
no,
under,
it's in-
that's
it's in
under the nursing home.
Dave.
No, but I think we have it too.
No,
No.
the one they're talking about is in the nursing home.
We had spent all of that, all we had left was in the nursing home.
Yeah.
But I didn't see a line item for us.
Under special fees and services.
Oh, okay, that's what it is.
Jen, what page is that, roughly, that you got for the, fees and services?
Oh, I was looking at for the nursing home.
The 18?
Yeah. See, here's
Did you get a page?
13, 14, if you look at,
14, okay, or somewhere around there.
here's audit and legal expense for the enterprise fund. And you see it's down to $7,400, $7,400.
That's under the nursing home.
And what number? Oh, what? Other fees and services, 029, there it is. Is that what you have?
No, I'm on page 14, Dave, and it's, number 021.
Oh, auditing and legal expenses, okay, there we are. And it's down to 7,000, right?
Yep,
And we spent 70%.
yeah.
Okay, that's one of the, I sent a list to Representative Umberger. I think each one of you got a copy, or I sent you an email. So I can't say they haven't been kept up to date.
Well, what we were just talking about, the auditing and legal expense, we had 50,000 in there and they could have gone to 25, right? And you're saying that that's been used up? Or is it still there? Right there.
That's down to 7 right now. If you look right here,
Okay.
Dave. Down to 7,400.
Okay,
And I think that's gonna, before we get the final bill from Julio, I think we're gonna spend that on legal fees, as you just said.
It's when we
Yeah.
get into this
Yeah.
case that we got coming up, that's gonna disappear
it should be
pretty
a
quick.
short one though, because she is only going to be, Primex will take over once it goes to court.
Okay,
So it shouldn't be a big bill.
okay. But even if we spent 2,500 out of that, so that's down to 5, that means that then Julio was at 45, and that the 5 was still at 40. So
Yeah.
our exposure with Julio is between, right now, 30, 37 and 45 right in there.
Yep, okay. Okay. Let's go on to, Patty, you wanna come up? Morning.
Morning. Oops, I don't know if
We've all received copies of this.
Okay. So, we're here representing the names on the list because a lot of them are actually working today. So we just wanted to thank you for hearing us, and we felt really strongly about this, which is why we wanted to come over and present the letter to you.
Yep.
I was gonna read the letter, but since you already have the letter, I'll assume that you've all read the letter. So we just wanted to present it and have you consider it. And then we wanted to know if we could expect a time that we might hear back from you on what you thought about it. And
Okay, with our union contract that we presented to the delegation,
Excuse me, Dave. Patty, could you give this as a new reporter for the
Oh.
Granite State? Could you give him,
Yeah.
just let
Appreciate
him look
that.
at your copy?
Sure.
Awesome, yeah.
That's right, Dave.
Okay,
Yeah.
union contract that we presented, the union employees would get, as well as the non-union, 75 cents per hour in 2015 and 75 cents per hour in 2016. That was included in our recommendation to the delegation. They saw fit to cut it from 75 to 45. And so they're the ones that did the cutting. We
Okay,
recommended the 75 for both union and non-union.
okay, so we should be taking this to the.
So this should go to the delegation, yeah.
Okay,
You're absolutely right. We're not passing the bucket, we put it in
Okay.
for you,
Yeah,
and they said no.
okay, that's fine, then that's what we'll do.
and also what they said was this, any raises from now on would be based on performance evaluation. So how they're gonna do that, we don't know. I guess we're suggesting that they have a pool of money that we are able to use to give out merit increases. We haven't put that all together because it'll come 2 years from now when the union contract comes up again. But that's where we stand on it, that's what we did.
Okay,
We put it in for both.
okay, so.
And it was different this year, they acted on the non-union before they acted on the union,
Right,
so. The motion was made by one of the representatives for 75 cents, but it did not pass.
okay,
And in fact, in the subcommittee, did you go to that subcommittee? Where they couldn't decide, they couldn't get a majority vote in the subcommittee as to what to recommend?
Oh, yes, I was.
Remember that one?
Yeah, I was.
Anyway, I guess that's the answer.
okay, so we'll take.
Yeah.
We put in for you, but they
Thank
didn't
you, we
agree with it.
appreciate that.
Yeah,
Okay.
our hands get tied after a certain point where, that we present a budget and then it
Right.
becomes their budget for 4 months and we really kind of lose control of it, so from that point on.
Okay,
And I doubt if anything would happen this year, but it might happen next year's budget. Just because we're short this year and the budget's already been passed, and from what we gather, we've heard that there won't be a supplemental budget, but we think there should be. But anyway,
okay. so
as
we'll-
far as raises for non-union, I would suggest that you look at next year's budget, because yours would be acted on differently than the union.
All right, well, we'll
Okay.
take it up with the delegation. All right, thank you
All
very
right,
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oops.
At some point today, I'd like to go over, I'm waiting for corrected figures before I jump into this, but I did a spreadsheet, I had Cheryl do a spreadsheet from 2009 to 2015, the expenses at the end of the year, what the actual expenses were, what the revenue was, what the actual revenue was, what was put in raised by taxes, and amount towards reducing taxes. I guess I won't say what I've got for a figure right now until I make sure that these figures are correct. They're double checking that today. What was interesting was in 2011, we overspent our budget. It's the first time we overspent our expense side of the budget. Because we had revenue coming in, that made up the difference. And we overspent by $85,000. Anyway, as soon as we get the corrected figures, I'd like to go over them with you with that and make sure I'm correct in what I did. But it shows that we put too much money into reducing taxes that we didn't have.
Well, that one form that you gave me, Dave,
That's,
yeah, How many years does that cover? Is that like 6, 7 years?
209.
Yeah, well, if you add this up on how much money we,
Yeah,
it's $7.9 million
right.
of reserves. Well,
We didn't have
we
that.
didn't have that.
That's what I'm getting at, and I
Exactly.
think this proves
Yeah,
that we didn't have it to start with.
yeah. So that, one of the reasons we're in trouble right now is we played back reserves we didn't, well, the delegation played back reserves we didn't have.
Okay, I guess we're waiting for Howard.
How about a
You
quick
wanna give a report? Go
Quick
ahead.
report. Today is Wednesday, so it was Monday. The Ossipee Rotary Club and the House of Corrections and the Mountain View community all got together and came when they wanted a project, and they decided they needed a place to store the books, so they went to the high school, Kingswood Regional High School Vocational Center, and got them to build 13, I call them either a
Bookshelf or storage cabinets or what?
well, they look like a barn, but they're much smaller.
Or a big birdhouse, one of the two.
Or a birdhouse on steroids, or a
Yeah.
barn that, short of Gene. But they're very, very, very attractive. The kids did a wonderful job on them. They built 13, as I said. 3 will go to the House of Correction. 10 will go to the nursing home. It's a place to store books when they get them, so now they'll be able to bring the books in and have a place to have them. That
How big a thing is this?
it's on the front page of the Union Leader this morning. It's about, there they are.
Oh,
Very nice looking.
They really are.
Yeah,
The kids did a wonderful job,
yeah.
and
So it's a combination of Ossipee Rotary Club, the vocational school, the House of Corrections, and Mountain View.
absolutely, they all coordinated. We had the instructor from the school, we had the FFA instructor there, the kids had worked. It was a nice program, and they had a lot of residents who were very appreciative of the fact that they were now gonna have a place to keep their books. And it's nice to see everybody working
So where are they
together.
gonna be placed? Do you know?
No, I don't know, I would imagine in each one of the neighborhoods.
Neighborhoods, okay.
The other thing, the telephone poles for the bridge for the walking, well, I got them while they were there and couldn't get away. They're all done, and we're gonna pick them up. We've got 10 days to pick them up. I talked to Will the other day, and he's gonna gonna go over the truck and the trailer and pick up the poles. So we'll then have the bridge to cross.
And what did they do to the poles?
We cut them in half so they'd have a flat
Flat
surface to
surface.
put the planks down on it.
Okay.
And it was a very nice activity.
Where did they,
There were seven kids that had done it. There were 2 or 3 that had something else and couldn't make it, so they weren't here, but the young men deserve a lot of credit. They did a nice job.
You know, if and when we have a dedication of the walking trail, we ought to have them there, because they did
absolutely.
quite a bit of, they brushed it out, they brought in gravel, and now they've split the telephone poles for the bridge. But what we need is someone to take charge of that walking path. I guess I'd like to pursue the Ossipee Rotary Club, if they would take that on. Now, there are matching dollars that Rotary can get through their organization, national organization, as well as regional. And I know we've talked about this before. I will contact the Rotary Club unless someone else wants to.
You're the Rotarian,
And
and
see.
probably me more if you.
Okay, and see if they will take that on as a project and finish it. I mean, it's probably half done. There's 1/4 of it that needs some work where the bridge goes and it needs to be brushed out. We just need somebody like Wendy Scribner through the Cooperative Extension Forestry Program. She ought to be involved in it and see if the Rotary would take it on as a project. Now, if they should take it on as a project, then they will probably come back to us and say, we'd like to be able to put a sign up there saying that this was a Rotary project and get some credit for it.
I have no problem with that.
How long is the trail in total, you know?
Oh, there's a couple of different trails.
Two loops,
Different
and we've
loops.
only done the first one,
Okay.
or started the first one.
Okay.
And the first one's, I think is about 3/4 of a mile or half a mile.
And it
Okay.
starts out in back of the parking lot of this building,
Okay.
Goes around, ends up down here, so they go up.
comes out by the nursing home, right?
Beautiful.
Right. So, okay.
Where did you get that picture?
It's on the.
What page?
Nursing home Facebook page.
Okay.
Anything else to report on? Nothing?
What else? We haven't had any other meeting.
All right, we got some items, well, they should be here. 9:45. Have you had a chance to, well, here's a card that came from RSVP.
Here it is.
I'll share that with you.
Okay?
They're the ones that requested full funding. You know, we had talked about reducing it back to last year's level. And the delegation voted against that. And this is a letter from the director of RSVP thanking us for our support and making them, or giving them full funding.
I talked to her, Mary Seavey yesterday for about 20 minutes. She was very
Mhm.
appreciative of our effort to
Yeah,
get the
that's a
funding
letter
back.
from Bill. Okay, Howie, come on up.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
I'll give you some paperwork.
Okay.
It would be unlike you, Howie, not to be here with people.
Well, the only thing worse would be you not being informed.
And you know, there's very few trees around the nursing home.
Well, you know,
Make
that's,
the statement. Maybe that's why we have few trees.
well, that's part of it. Although the cost of misinformation or non-information. In fact, that's what I've tried to do with this packet today, is to try to.
I'm assuming Paula's not coming in. She's
Paula's on vacation. She is on vacation.
Okay. Did she give you anything to report on?
She did. In fact, she gave me an update on Friday. And significant progress is being made. In fact, she actually has.
Now, how do you define significant?
Well, significant in that there is, what she's finding is that there's, the claims that are out there are being adequately handled by the state. So she hasn't come across any roadblocks
Okay.
other than the slowness. But there is a misperception there that the accounts receivables that are there are going to be, it's a matter of sending it to the state and the state sends back a check.
Yeah,
That isn't how it works with these old accounts receivable.
okay.
It'll come back in many times in the form of an allowance, essentially getting paid per month per resident, which could be $10,000, $12,000 per month, but it's not going to be a single big check. And that's how the state works, that we don't really have any control over that.
Okay. So it's gonna take a while to correct.
Explain that to
It
me.
will.
Explain that, this allowance thing. I don't understand what that means.
Well, when an old claim is submitted, and
Yeah.
let's say it's for $10,000,
Okay.
rather than the state cutting a check for $10,000, and it's always per resident,
Yeah?
it could be that it's gonna be $500 per month until that $10,000 is amortized.
So what kind of life expectancy do they put on the resident to get the amortization to equal how long the resident's gonna be with us?
Well,
I don't
yeah.
understand that formula.
Well, one might assume, and it's only an assumption on my part, that the state uses that process knowing that there'll be a default factor,
Huh?
that will save the state money. It's typically, it typically is an amount that it's typically all recovered, but of course, life isn't predictable. It could be entered into today and a resident or anybody could die tomorrow.
And the fact, Howie, that we've provided the service, albeit it might be 2 years ago, they're saying, well, client's dead, we don't have to pay now,
Correct.
even though
We've paid it.
Correct. And
that's
that's,
crazy.
although, the good news in all of this is that now since we've gone electronic, now for over a year since we've done this on a computerized basis, we don't get these lag times. And so the problems that we're facing are not ones that are gonna recur. So we're dealing with the tail of a problem, not an ongoing problem.
Okay, so those accounts that are 2014, did they pay the full amount then?
They do.
Okay.
And they do it very quickly too, because it's all consistent right through.
What you're saying is they didn't budget, or they didn't carry over any money from previous years. And
That's,
so they've gotta do it
that's,
piecemeal.
that's the nature of state funding.
Well, how in the world do we ever get an estimate on how much we're gonna collect out of that? I mean, this is such a moving target, I'm dazzled by this. You're saying right now, if there, one of our residents has been, in effect, underfunded by the state, and the state owes us $10,000, they're gonna say maybe add $500 a month to what they're paying us for the next 6 years, and at the end of that 6-year period, if the resident passes on, then the remaining 4 years where the payments, we're not gonna receive it?
Is it
No.
per year?
Now, I believe that the window that they usually use is gonna be something on the order of 18 months, so that it's not,
Okay.
so that,
So the amortization period for the extra payment is 1.5 years typically.
and that is, right now, that is a guess on my part. I've not heard Paula talk about anything going out over 2 years. But I'm not sure if that's done, if that's just a matter of practice or requirement.
Okay, so let's say, again, we don't know how long our residents are gonna be with us, but if they die before that 2-year period is up, the probability of us recovering the underfunded portion is minimal.
Correct.
So it's gonna be 2 years before we know how much of this is collectible.
It'll be 2 years before we can close the books.
Well, therefore, you don't know what is collectible.
Correct.
So how does the auditor handle that kind of a thing?
That's why he wrote the whole thing off.
Yeah.
He took, well.
Yeah, that's the easy way.
Well,
Yeah.
when, you know, and when an auditor is confronted with a moving target, they're almost duty bound to represent the worst case scenario.
Yeah, and write the entire
And
amount
that would
out.
be nothing.
Yeah.
But we think now that he's got more current information, he's gonna be able to back away from that. There's also another situation that'll never recur, is that in the old paper trail, our revenue, and this is pure accounting, when our billable is treated as revenue. We now discount that revenue line right on our revenue sheet by a discounted allocation, the part that we think we'll never get. 2010, 2011 and before, this was carried as essentially an inflated receivable, of which we knew parts of it we weren't going to get. So the bad debt component was made larger by an accounting practice that no longer happens. So now we immediately reduce our revenue by the amount that we know we're not gonna receive.
Yeah, I understand that, we discussed that last time, but we started with a $2.4 million gross receivable that you and Paula estimated a couple of weeks ago, maybe that 1.75 of that was gonna be recoverable. Is that still a good number, or is that reduced even more now because of the way the state is paying off the old funding?
I think that's gonna be close, perhaps.
You still think it's close?
$1.5 million, but what it's not gonna be is by December 31st.
Oh, I know, I understand,
So
I totally
there's the amount
understand
and there's
that.
the timing.
Okay, so when it comes to setting the tax
The
rate,
approval.
when it comes to setting the tax rate with DRA this fall, the only number they're gonna have to set the tax rate with is not the 1.5 you think you're gonna collect, is what we've collected between now and September.
Correct. I mean, that would be the only prudent way.
Okay. Every day is a new day up
Yes,
here.
Boy, oh boy.
This is just mind-boggling.
So what happens come September 1st and we've got to give a figure to DRA? Are we just gonna throw a dart?
I think
I don't see how we can do anything but either write the entire thing off or just take a guess.
I think when it comes to setting the tax rate, DRA is gonna say, this is what we've received to date, and I don't think they're gonna accept anything in the future, because it's such an unknown.
No.
I mean, even if they, maybe they, 25 cents on the dollar or 10 cents on the dollar, I don't know, but when I talked to the two of them, the two commissioners that were out here, they said that they were gonna be very, very conservative in setting our tax rate, which
Yep.
to me indicates that if it's not collected,
They're not gonna,
they're not gonna book it.
Right.
right.
So,
I think our auditor would have to make a different case, and I think they would be looking for and I don't know that an auditor would.
yeah, it's such a moving target. I mean, it's gonna be 10 cents, 20, 30, 40, 50 cents on the dollar, but Jesse doesn't have any justification for coming up with that money.
And the
Any more
longer
than
you
we do.
delay, the less the amount of people are
Yeah.
gonna die, the less
Yeah.
they're not in there because they're getting younger.
Yeah.
Well,
They're gonna die and that number's gonna, it's just, I
Well,
don't know.
my hope with Jesse coming up by September, once we have everything confirmed with the state, we can then build in a reasonable default factor. I don't think it has to be 100% of future revenue written off, but I think it would have to be some factor, some generally accepted factor, whether that's 10, 20, or 30% of that. So hopefully there is it shouldn't have to be 100%.
Are they gonna give us a document that will say that they approve of it, but that it's gonna be on a,
Correct.
so they will?
And there's a great many of those that
So
have
that's something maybe the auditor can use, whether DRA would accept that or not, I don't know.
I think they would, because I mean, the state, the good faith and credit of the state is fairly unquestioned. The default factor, there'd have to be a reduction factor built in for the funds that are agreed to that might not be paid.
Yeah.
Well, are you implying then that Jesse's gonna put this in the management letter from the auditing firm?
Management letters are typically gonna be for accounting practices.
And this isn't accounting practice, because he wrote off the entire amount. Now, to reverse that and say they're now anticipating a collection of X number of cents on the dollar, to me, that's gotta be in the management letter.
Well, and that's, and that could be, although it would certainly be in the 2015 audit. I mean, he's got for a fiscal year 2015, he's gonna have to quantify bad debt. And whatever number he's gonna use for 2015, closing December 31st, and he could get a good estimate of that by September, would seem to be a reasonable number for him to convey to DRA too.
But they wrote that off for 2014. They wrote that off on the 2014 MS 45.
Well, and this is exactly what Stratford County was confronted with. They chose to do it that way. They chose just to take a hard hit, be done with it, and to soften the future years, because you can't go back.
Okay.
I know you've got some information to present to us. You got a subcommittee meeting on Monday
Correct.
at 2 o'clock, right?
Correct.
Any one of you two are gonna be there, by any chance? It's a
know.
nursing home
I'm in the
subcommittee.
middle of the hay season now, so my time is
Okay.
pretty much up to how the weather is.
What are they looking for on Monday, do you know?
I've had no contact, so I'm assuming financial updates, and which is why I have this packet for you, because I want you to have
Okay.
the first look at things. But there have been no special requests made. I know the general issues that are continuing. There was one about the cafe and the credit card, and I have further information for that in this
That's been
packet.
straightened out, right?
Well, I mean, I
It's
think
not
so.
6%,
It's not, in fact,
2.3 or something?
well, if you go to page 3, you can, Well, the truth is,
Why don't you go through this the way you
Okay.
had planned?
well, the
Why don't we
first,
start with, why don't we go from page 1, 2,
Yeah.
and 3 and go
Yeah.
through them?
well, page 2 is a request for a fund transfer. We already, the first one, I believe, has already been presented. I'm not sure that it's been heard by the delegation subcommittee.
Excuse me, Howie, can you wait just a second while we get our forms out here and see where we are in this thing? You don't have one of these there, do you?
I do.
Can you give us a rough area of where it might be?
Well, let's see.
Transferred nursing department, medical services.
See, on me, on mine, on the enterprise, it's gonna be page 3.
Page, well, no, then there.
But I actually note the account numbers here, not so that you didn't necessarily have to look at that, but it certainly can't hurt to cross-reference.
Well, we gotta find them in here. Where is the?
What department are we talking about?
Nursing. Both are with nursing.
David, on ours, it's roughly page 15. And that would be for the nursing department, 030. Nursing department, 030.
It'd be from 030 and transferred to nursing department 082.
Well, wait a minute, Howie, I've got, oh, I'm sorry, it's 140, 030. Medical supplies and services.
How much are you gonna take out of each one?
Yeah,
Well, no, I'm recommending that $3,000 be transferred from 5140-030, medical services, and put into the overdrawn account, 5140-082, nursing department equipment
wait a
maintenance
minute,
and
Howie, you're
repair.
you're going too fast
Yeah.
for me. The amount you want to transfer, that's taking it out of 5140-030.
Correct, and that's $3,000.
And you want to take 3,000 more out of 5140-082?
No, I want to put it into 5140-082.
Okay, so
Yeah,
supply 2, so it's going into this one.
Correct.
I was under the impression we weren't gonna do this, that we were gonna let these expenses
exactly
run to actual, that we weren't gonna transfer money back, other than keeping track of where the money was coming from, that we wanted the actuals
Under the line item?
under the line item. So
Yeah.
I'm not in favor of taking money out of one and putting in another one, because next year when we set the budget,
It'd be all white.
it's gone.
Yeah.
I mean, now the visibility of this is not there. I understand what, you know, that you have extra money in some areas that you want, but I don't think we should move these line items.
No, I don't
I
either.
don't either.
Do you understand what I'm saying, Ally? I mean, next year when we do the budget, if we move this $5,000 from your license, from the nursing and the agency, we'd be budgeting the wrong, if we're using last year actual, we'd be budgeting the wrong amount.
No, I agree with you, and you're actually right. Where my conflict is in listening to the delegation, where they're looking, every time you overspend, they want to know where you're going to get the money from in order to cover that.
And they
And
keep saying that to us, but I really think, from my vantage point, it's the bad practice. We can tell them this is where the money, where we have excess funds, that we can cover it at year end.
Yeah,
But I don't think we should be transferring any money during the year.
Do we have the authority to do it? The
No,
law-
we don't.
The law says.
We can't do it.
We can't do it.
Well, no, you can't, but in order to get to the subcommittee, it has to be based on your recommendation.
Well, we can't even recommend doing it, because we don't have the authority to do it.
this
There's,
is a recommendation from you to us, correct?
It is, well, because we are overspent
Right.
in the nursing department, equipment and maintenance, and will soon, in this item 2, be overspent on agency staff.
okay, well, there's a law that was passed this year, and there's an RSA in the books that said that we can notify the delegation when we exceed who have to exceed and when we exceed $1,000.
Yeah.
But we don't have any authority to transfer money
At any level.
at any level.
Correct.
So, I mean,
Well, yes, we're right. All you're doing is giving us a recommendation that
Exactly.
you know you're over in one area, and this is where you think we could take the money to balance it.
Exactly.
okay.
So
So-
we don't have to do anything. He's just telling us that he's overspent in one area, and this is where he sees the money coming from at the end of the year,
Well,
So,
when we go to the delegation and say that we're overspent.
Correct.
okay, but maybe just for, the way you, maybe we say the amount to be balanced, or the amount to be reserved, or the amount,
Yeah,
let's take the transfer side out of there.
yeah.
I don't know what terminology we want to use, but, we literally cannot do this.
so, do we make a motion that we take Howie's suggestion and send it to the subcommittee? Now, I can't see that we have anything to do with it. I mean, you just, we can't do it, so who else is gonna do it but the delegation of the subcommittee's gonna recommend it to the delegation, and they're gonna do it. So do we have Howie send this to them as well as us?
Okay, but again, even if the delegation has the authority to do it, should we do it now or should we do it at year end?
Oh, year end, but.
Yeah, so, and that's the form that you were talking about, that we all sign off on. We need some standardization in this, in that when we're, like the $7,000 from legal, you know, you start moving that around, by year end, we're gonna have forgotten about that $7,000.
Yep.
And they're gonna look at how much did you spend this year, and we spent 15, or it was really 22 or 32 or whatever, so,
Can I ask a question?
yes,
I know, you didn't have a meeting for a week, and I feel like I haven't been here in a month.
okay.
Something's funny. So, on May 22nd, the delegation met and to consider your request to move money from a line item to add to the legal budget.
Yes.
Now you're saying you're not going, all right, let me back up. So that happened, they didn't agree with it, they found the money by cutting a position, so it's
Yep.
safe for now. So they've moved that $77,000 into the legal line from the HR department.
Yeah.
But now, you have a line item that's overspent, one that's about to be overspent, and you are not going to pursue that at this time with the delegation.
Well,
So
see-
my question, if I'm correct in what I'm hearing, my question is there a written procedure? Or can one be developed so that people know where their place is and what they're supposed to do? Like the department heads, you told them to come to you if they're overspent,
Yeah.
and with a recommendation where to take it from.
They
And if
didn't
you're not
take it.
gonna do anything with it, why do they do it? And
Well,
what happens next, and what are the implications, and
Well, what happens
is
is
the
that,
appropriations committee still, weren't they supposed to get back together, the subcommittee, and work on that? Cordelli and McCarthy, and they mentioned something
Schmidt.
like that, is that?
Schmidt was chairman of that, yeah, right?
what happens, the three of us can make a recommendation where we think the money should come from.
Right,
The delegation completely ignores, or can ignore our recommendation, and they say, no, we're gonna take the money from HR, we're
Someplace
gonna
else.
take the money from. So it's a waste of our time to make a recommendation to the delegation when they have decided now it's up to them as to where the money comes from, not up to us.
so it's also a waste of the department head's time to make that recommendation to you?
In my,
But under the RSA and the new law that's taking effect, what are you required to do?
we can't do
Whether it's a
it,
waste of time or not?
we can't do anything,
All
it's
we
up
do
to
is
the
report it.
delegation. We report it.
Over
That's all we can do.
$1,000, we put it in writing to the delegation.
To that executive committee?
The
To
chairman,
executive committee, right?
the chairman of the department sends to us that they're gonna be over $1,000 in equipment, okay?
Mhm.
So then we report that $1,000 to the delegation. They may come back and say, where are you planning on taking it from? But that's a waste of time because they take it from wherever they feel like they wanna take it from. But that's what we're supposed to do, is just report it.
But you can do that without the department heads
The
having
department
to do
head,
the work as well, because you look at your, hopefully your financial reports are up to date, and you can look at that and know when you're about to go over, or you have, and then just send notification to
The
the
law
delegation,
says-
and that's it?
the law says the department, once they think they're gonna go over $1,000, they report it to the Board of Commissioners. We then report it to the delegation. I
But they
think
don't
that-
have to figure out where it's coming from.
Well, they,
They just have to.
It's helpful,
They can give us a
so far,
recommendation.
you're on the money. As I see it, we get to the point where it isn't a waste of their time, because the delegation is gonna come back to us and say, where do you think we ought to take it from? We're gonna go back to the department heads and say,
Yeah.
what's your suggestion? It's their department.
Yeah.
They're hanging on the rope for the budget, and it's just, what it comes down to is a waste of time, but, you know, that's the way it is.
So do you want them to do this
I'd like to, because I think it's
We want the
reasonable.
as
departments.
soon as
If I
they
give you a
know?
problem, I should be giving you a solution too. Now, whether
Yes,
that
yes,
solution be
yes,
acted
absolutely.
on
Yes.
by you or by them.
Then we don't have to come back to you.
My duty is to give you the,
Right.
at least a recommendation.
Yep.
Would it be helpful to have something in writing as to the steps?
Yes,
Because this
it
is a
would
new
be.
procedure for you.
So that we are consistent.
and we need a log of where the money was overspent and where it was taken from, so at the end of the year, we can do, in effect, a reconciliation and get back to where the actual spending was. So when we set the budget for next year, we can say, you know, the line item says 20, but we really spent 27, or 31, or 32, so it's more accurate. I don't want to lose sight of the actual spending.
No, I don't either.
These transfers make that very confusing.
And that's what we're doing internally, unless directed otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if whatever's spent out of a given account will show negative.
Okay.
But I feel a duty and obligation that the total balance for that account be balanced.
So you're showing that you're overspent in the nursing department, medical services and supply by $3,000.
We're overspent by less than that, but this would be what we project would be needed to take us to the end of the year.
Overspent by this amount right here, David.
Oh, okay, I got you, yeah. And you're gonna take it from the nursing department, equipment, maintenance and repair.
Correct.
And that's basically the form I made up.
Yeah.
It takes whatever they recommend, we hand it off to the delegation, they can do what they want.
Yeah.
All
I
right,
mean, it just bothers me, we have to go through the extra step of making a recommendation when, what does a recommendation mean to anybody, I guess it's,
it gives them an option, but they can take it wherever they wanna take it from.
we're spinning our wheels here, looking for a home for this, and then they disregard our recommendations.
Yep,
To me, that's a waste of time.
I agree. All right, let's go to number 2.
And that's, agency staff is, we anticipate going over the budget line by $1,000 in June. It'd be very reasonable to expect it, so we're being conservative here in planning for that. And to that end, and knowing that it's not, you know, that we're only into the mid-year point, you know, recommending the $5,000 be added to that line item, for which we think we could reasonably take it out of the 5140-007 salary L&A's line.
You need 1,000 right now, why are you moving 5, how far is that gonna get you?
It's, of course, it's in June, we don't know, we don't have all the bills in yet. We're sure it's gonna be over $1,000. You know, we don't know how much.
Okay.
That's the nature of agency, we want it to be zero.
Yeah, I know, I understand.
Can I
So I guess the question then comes as to, why do we have 5,000 left over in salaries for L&As?
Well, we don't right now. Right now, that's running about 2% under where it might be.
But wait a minute, if we don't have it now, how can you recommend it?
Well, it's.
Because you might use that up.
We could, I mean, we don't have any padded accounts, but here it's the same as with a household budget, we gotta deal with the critical issues,
Do we, I guess the question I would have is, do we want to put the exact figure that we're over in our transfer, in our recommended transfer? Or do we want to, like they do in the grocery store, hand the credit card and say, I want $30, even though my grocery bill is only $25, and they get the extra $5 in cash?
Well, if we don't, and this is a scenario that
You have to come back to us.
each and every month, because once you overspend an account, you're gonna be back. It's a matter of, do you wanna do it with the idea that maybe it'll take it to the end of the year, or do you want the same proposal with actual dollars for each and every month? And that's a policy decision. We can certainly do it either way.
What do you think? Which way would we like to have it?
I'd say it's an actual amount, we take the actual amount each month and send it to the delegation.
I do
I
too.
do too.
I do too.
And that will be done.
So you know that you're gonna be over $2,034 in the nursing home department under medical supplies. And your recommendation is to take that out of the nursing department, equipment maintenance
Yeah.
and repair. Okay.
There's another question, David. When we hit this point that we've gone over, and we've got to get okay from the delegation, do we pay the bill? We can't. What do we do? We don't have a slush fund to take it from, we don't have, if they don't get back to us right away, some of these credit card, if you're late, you pay a penalty.
Well, but
What
The
do
more
we-
important question to ask though is, why did we overspend it?
Well, and the first.
Was it an emergency? Did we have to have it? You know, the idea behind this whole thing is to keep us within budget and keep expenses down.
Correct.
So then, I guess the question is, why did we overspend $2,034 in that medical services and supply?
Well, no, it wasn't medical services and supply, it was equipment maintenance and repair. And of course, predicting what's going to break and what needs to be replaced is more art than science. So that end, we ended up, we're now 3.5 years old, well off of warranty. Things are starting to wear out and not in a predictable fashion. In this case, it had 3 beds that needed to be repaired, the electronic parts of the bed control. And there were other repair items that all of a sudden these $150 cords and $150 this and that added up. It could not be properly anticipated and without padding the budget, and it could not be deferred because we're a full house. We don't have an extra bed, so we couldn't defer it to the next month.
Okay, a more simpler question is then, why do we keep all those electric beds in the old nursing home? I thought we kept those for spare parts. If we can't use the spare part, let's get rid of them.
We should. I mean, there's no good reason to keep those old beds. They're talking about a maintenance, they would cost us more to get ready to put into service than the parts that we're paying to take care of the new beds. There's very little in the old building that has any benefit to the new building.
Then why are we storing them?
That's the question.
Well, we shouldn't be. We're storing them because it's been easier and cheaper to store them than to get rid of them. And that's that's actually the practical reason. The storage wasn't costing anything, and actually the disposal cost in some cases would actually incur a cost.
If they're all metal, we get somebody in there with a torch, cut them up and take them to,
We're gonna get $5 or $6 a hundredweight for.
We would
we
do
get rid
well.
of them and it doesn't cost us anything, maybe we'll get something.
We would do well if we could get rid of them and not pay to dispose of them.
Right.
I mean, a no-cost transaction would be favorable.
Well, how about getting Riker and the guy from down in Farmington and the new guy from Tamworth, the 3 junkies around here, and have them come in and see what they'll do for us and get rid of the stuff.
Will do.
yeah, I mean, depending on the quality of the metal, you're talking, $150 a ton. So I don't know how much we have over there, but let's junk it.
Now, a technical question. It's disposal of county property. Is there need or requirement by policy that we put anything out, any kind of proposal? Do we need to have a public notice of this?
And furthermore,
It's,
do we have the right to do it without getting, doesn't that come under the RSA about real estate and property? Do we have the right to do it without the okay of the delegation?
It's not it's not
not.
real estate.
No, but it's property. As long as
Abandoned,
it's
it's
real estate or
abandoned property,
property.
it's abandoned property.
Is it going to exceed $5,000?
we have to check
No.
out the RSA.
That,
I think the Board of Commissioners have the right to dispose of that kind of equipment.
I would think so.
the junk value of that is not $5,000,
No,
I
no
guarantee
way.
you.
No.
It'd take 2 D7 Caterpillars to get metal and $5,000 worth of scrap
Last year
metal.
on Farm Day, you had a yard sale in the old nursing home, you sold a bunch of stuff, did that require anything?
We tried that. We did have that.
You didn't have a hearing, or put it out to bid or anything?
Do you need any public I mean, do you want me to have any kind of public notice of that, or to negotiate with the bidders of your choice?
I don't know whether it's far-fetched, Howie, but can we make up, you get people who know how to run the fancy graphics over there at the nursing home, and send it out to a few locations to post. It seems to me there must be somebody around here that might need a hospital bed for something.
We can
We can give
certainly,
it to them,
and we certainly would.
and that's cheaper than paying to get rid of it.
I know that none of the other county homes want it.
No, but
They
you
all
may
have
find an
this.
individual,
Well, that's,
and once you take it, you can't bring it back. You know, you can't bring it home because you've fallen and you've broken your hip and you gotta stay in a special bed and then think you can bring it back in 3 weeks. Once it's out of here, it's out of here.
It's a gift.
Let's go back to number one on the $2,000. Again, we're not supposed to be overspending this, but if we have elderly in a nursing home in our care and the bed is broken, do we wait for the delegation to approve to fix this, or do we fix it on our own? I mean, we're violating the RSA.
Violating the law.
The purpose is to stay within the budget, keep expenses down, properly budgeting for it. And I guess if we put money in there in anticipation of, and I don't know how you come up with that figure, then the delegation either reduces it or approves of it. When we present the budget.
By our hands.
We have to fix it. And that's where we come into going over $1,000 and
No.
asking a transfer.
But my point is, and as to what Dave said, we know it's broken, we know it has to be fixed. Do we send an email to the delegation and say we need to spend $2,400 to repair the beds? Or do we repair the beds and then send the email?
I think we do it the way they want us to do it, and that's send it to them and they okay it, and then we say fix it.
But then the person who's got the broken bed, we're not providing the service that we,
Well, that's.
There would not-
that they're paying for,
there would,
or the state is paying for.
there would be no person, because we wouldn't be by code able to have somebody in that
Okay.
bed. And given that we're full, it would cost us way more money. I have to believe that we could work something out with the delegation where I think it's more the information, that if they realize that not to do it would mean losing money, we'd actually we'd lose payable days if we didn't do it for, and they intimated as much. I think one of you suggested, what happens if a boiler blows up and there's nowhere in the budget for it? That there was a willingness and a flexibility.
No,
for
there
this.
was not, because that came up in the meeting on
I
the
brought that up.
22nd. And first of all, they're saying they don't anticipate these kind of emergencies, and if they do, you guys, I would miss the meeting, but what's their response to this, an
That
emergency?
they would make an immediate, that they would send it out, she would send out what the problem was to the delegation, and then they could send back an answer what they thought, and it was pointed out that that's against 91A, and she said, no, it isn't, because there isn't any decision being made. So they sort of skipped over that, and that they said they'd get back to us quickly, that the three of them would make the decision.
She's wrong, because 91A
That's
says
the way I read it,
discussion,
too.
it doesn't say decision.
That's right.
But anyways, here's a perfect case where this should have gone, before we repaired the beds, should have gone to the delegation.
Right, exactly.
I mean, Holly, I understand where you're coming from, but we're responsible for the budget, and the delegation has said we can't overspend it. So, you know, is a broken bed an emergency? What you're saying it is.
Well, it is, because we would have to take it out of service, and to take it out of
Lose that
service,
patient.
we could be losing $5,000 in revenue for want of spending $1,000.
I would call that an emergency, but that's the way the law is written, that's the way they want us to react. Somehow you've got to keep track of how many days of rooms at X amount of dollars we've lost, because you can't get an answer to whether you can fix something.
But I would hope we could work out something with the executive committee.
But, you
for
know,
where there's reasonable flexibility for the commissioners to exercise discretion. In a
They
situation like
did
this,
that,
we seem to
Howard.
be a
Friday,
good one.
that Friday, they said they'd do that. The three of them would make a decision, they'd let everybody else know, and give them a short amount of time to write back their response, and then they would make the decision and they'd let us know. That's what they said. We haven't thought this thing through.
I sent an email to these, and I said, we need some kind of discretion. I mean, we need some kind of emergency funding, and the response is, no, in effect. I sent you a copy of mine. And what they're saying is they want to make the decision. So even though we've got broken beds and
Losing $300 a day.
they want to make the decision.
Howie, I agree with you that we need to have some kind of flexibility with the delegation that would allow us to fix the bed, because we're gonna lose more money in the long run if we don't.
Correct.
I think we
How-
both agree, we all agree with Howie, but that's not what they said. We
I
gave
know,
them the
I know,
opportunity.
but we gotta, at the next meeting, we gotta explain that, or even before next meeting. I will talk with the chairman of the delegation to find out where she's coming from
Well, you
on
know,
these kind of situations.
when before we're talking emergencies, we're talking about, you know, a microburst takes part of the roof off, or
Yeah.
a boiler fault fails or something. Well, nobody talked about a broken bed being an emergency.
Right.
I understand exactly where Howie's coming from.
Yeah.
But if we went to the delegation and said, we got a broken bed, it's an emergency, after they laughed a little bit, they say, what?
Yeah,
I mean, they don't want to deal with this, yet they're forcing us to send it to them.
yeah.
Now, on the second one here, to get off, you asked, can we pay it, Dave, the salary? If it's salary, we're legally obligated to pay it. We can't not pay it. If he's overspent a salary line, we are obligated to pay that individual.
It's not
Except-
it's not a salary line.
Except, excuse me, you're right, I was just gonna say that. It's to the agency itself. They've got to pay their employee, but we don't have to pay them.
So we don't have to pay the agency then, and we
That
should
it-
not. and
we have to pay
We
them,
have to
but not,
pay the
But
agency.
we shouldn't pay the agency till the delegation
Yes.
gives us the approval to do it.
yes.
Yeah.
exactly.
Okay.
Can I ask-
Same situation.
I'm just looking at the RSA that was,
Yep.
that's taking effect, and just to clarify, the word permission isn't in here. It just says prior to the transfer of an
Reporting.
appropriation or any part thereof exceeding $1,000 or a cumulative total exceeding $1,000 from one line item to another, the following procedure shall apply. A request to transfer an appropriation shall be made in writing by the department head to the commissioners, who, if they approve, report the same recommendation to the executive committee. The commissioners request the executive committee all interdepartmental transfers of appropriations regardless of the amount. It doesn't say that you have to ask permission to overspend a line item. It just says, this is how I'm interpreting it, so I just need clarification. It says that prior to transferring money to cover the overages in a line item, then that's what triggers this process. You're not required to ask permission to overspend a line item.
Well, we are to report it to them.
If you're to report the transfer of appropriations, so your remedy, you report.
Yeah.
But the action,
But-
you don't have to.
What
That's
you're
how I'm
missing,
interpreting it. So
what
it
you're
doesn't-
missing is the RSA
Yeah,
that says that every line item is an appropriation, and it's illegal to overspend an appropriation.
Right.
And that was the Belknap case. and we
that's a
just-
court case, it's not, it hasn't changed the RSA.
It's case law.
Right?
It's a
Yeah.
case law
It's a
court
case
case.
law.
Yes, it is.
This
And-
doesn't kick in until we've overspent by $1,000. And I will agree that at $1,000, all we have to do, it says there, is report it. What you're not seeing, and as Denny pointed out, is the RSA that says that we can be responsible, personally responsible for paying the difference for a line item that we overspend. That we cannot overspend a line item. I mean, this bill from McCarthy actually doesn't bother us, because we've long gone past overspending the line item when we get to the $1,000. We can't overspend the line item.
Even a penny. We are absolutely bound not to overspend a line item.
Look up the RSA and read it yourself. 2415, I think it's McCarthy
Yeah.
keeps. 2315, 2415.
When you read them, you don't really know which one to follow. I totally agree. It's confusing for us. But if you read that one RSA that says every line item is an appropriation, it says, and then you read about the law on overspending an appropriation, we cannot do it. We're absolutely bound, and if we do, we're immediately guilty, and we're responsible for the amount that was overspent, personally.
And that,
What is the legal Latin term for it? It's in the law, that we are by
Yes,
something.
yeah, I forget.
I forget what it is. It says that by doing it, we're admitting guilt.
Yeah.
All right, I guess I would suggest that you, on Monday, report this to the subcommittee, that you overspent by $2,034 in number one. I don't know what you put for number two, though. You haven't overspent that yet, you're anticipating it.
No, but you had asked when it was coming.
Representative Cardelli wanted to know, and
To
we're
give
getting
you,
close.
give you notice, exactly.
Well, then give them notice, the subcommittee, and say that you've reported that to us, and we will have to take your form and report it to the delegation. To the three members that they selected as
The
the
executive
group to
committee.
act on any transfers or any transfers,
I do have a follow-up to number two, a related issue.
all right?
Carroll County's present practice with regard to per diem staff is to not allow any per diem staff to work more than 30 hours. Laurie Tatro, our Director of Nursing, is finding that some of the other counties don't take quite the same approach to that, and that if a staff member can prove that they have insurance and sign a waiver, that they can work over 30 hours, which benefits them and significantly benefits us. Our current practice apparently doesn't allow that. And I guess I would ask for your reconsideration of that, because it would give us some, with our per diems who have insurance and who are willing to sign a waiver, we could then schedule them for 40 hours. And even overtime hours, still cheaper than agency, which would help reduce our staffing prices and save some money at the same time.
Go ahead.
Where is it in our procedures that they can't work over 30 hours? I thought 30 hours was the goal, so that we didn't have to get involved with Obamacare.
Correct, but the other counties interpret that, some of the other counties interpret that as saying that if somebody has insurance,
I understand that, Howie, but where you keep talking about our policy doesn't allow that. What policy are you talking about that says a per diem can't work over 30 hours?
that's how we've been directed by HR. We've been told that we can't, and And that limitation is,
Debbie, is that a written document?
It is not a written document. It was the requested practice. And with regard to that, Winnett has asked if, how we would just grant a little bit of time for her to look into it. She's asking that a decision not be made today on that.
All right, as Assistant HR, would you check with other counties to see how they're doing that?
Absolutely,
And get that coverage?
absolutely.
Okay.
Debbie, isn't it 32 hours or is it 30 hours?
It's 30.
It's 30.
32 is
30.
when you go from a part-time employee to
Oh,
a full-time
okay.
employee.
Got it, thank you.
Okay,
Lori just got a lot of that information yesterday at the Nadona meeting. So
Yeah.
she spoke with some of the other counties, I know Coas, and she might be able to tell you the other ones that she knows of that are that flexible too.
let's get the legal aspect of it, okay, Debbie?
Sheet 3, I gave you the preliminary, credit card transaction, and, which was accurate but not complete. You have fixed costs, which we reduced with John from Cybertron's help. We were able to reduce our fixed costs. He made some changes that saved us $20 a month. But that gets spread over the number of sales, and in the number that I gave you, you have to figure out, well, what's the average sale? Our average credit card sale is a little over $4. Our average sale is around $1.70. But I put the whole chart out here so you can see what our actual all-in costs are for a given transaction. Both in dollars at the top, cents on dollar, and also as a percentage.
So we have a fixed fee?
We have a fixed fee. Our fixed cost, even if we have one sale, it costs us $51 a month for the basic service fees. More sales, that gets amortized over more
So it's a
sales.
flat $51 a month.
Plus a 12-cent per transaction, regardless of the size of the transaction. And then a percentage of the transaction.
Is this a big benefit to us? They're using a credit card for the cafe, right?
It's huge.
It's a big benefit.
It's relatively speaking, because food has such a big markup. Without credit, so many people don't
Have cash.
Don't have cash. Our cash sales are $1.70. Our credit card sales are over $4. People using credit card spend more. The actual cost, Rob more than absorbs, even at its worst case, in terms of cost and increased sales. In fact, our sales, let's see, our sales have gone up significantly. I just did this morning. January, $4,700 a month, and May, $6,200 a month.
Well, Holly, we also raised the prices by 5 or 10% in that period.
We did, and
So that's gonna eat into that increase somewhat.
no, that actually contributes to it. That's the gross dollars of sales, so increasing, so it's greater transactions. Transactions increased, actually transactions decreased, interestingly, because part of the transactions used to be the employee meals.
Yeah.
So while even though the number of transactions have gone down, the number of dollars have gone up, so.
Well, because of the union contract, they have to pay for their meals.
Correct.
So that went into effect, when, the 1st of April?
About the second week in May.
Okay.
How you recall in the subcommittee meeting, it was Representative Avellino that suggested that we were paying way too much money for what appeared to be about a 7% charge for the delegation. I think next week for this meeting, somehow you ought to be prepared to respond to that comment that we're either paying 3.5 or 2.5, or however he got to that figure. There was a discrepancy in the sheets that we got from you. It did appear to be 7%. Obviously, something was wrong if these figures are accurate.
And these figures are accurate, because they're
Well,
based
then I
on.
would have something that says, okay, this is what we pay.
Can I-
10.5% for anything under $4, or
Can I just throw this out for, I went down and I registered my boats and I didn't have enough cash, and they said, well, you can charge it, but you're gonna pay
Is the boat too
2.5%. You gotta, should we talk about adding an extra 3% if they charge? You can do it at the cash register. If you pay cash, it's one, if you use a credit card, it's 3% more. And cover the cost of these
Like that
transactions.
gasoline station in
Exactly,
Wakefield.
exactly. They're doing it.
They're doing it, right.
Can't we charge, if you pay cash, it's this, and if they give them a credit card, then they add 3% to your total
We have
amount?
to have a computer at the cash register.
Well, I think those little machines can do more than, they could put a sales tax on it if they had to,
Now,
right?
there's a difference.
I know.
Now, putting marketing hat on, when you buy gasoline, your tank only holds 20 gallons. No matter what you pay, you're not gonna put more than 20 gallons in. Your registration for your boat's gonna be the same. When people pay with credit card, they tend to buy more. And we have a 50% margin on food, so even if we're paying 5% for that extra transaction, we're still coming out ahead. Well, actually, well ahead.
But the people that are not paying with a credit card are paying the fee to cover the credit, people are buying with a credit card. There's a difference there.
But it is.
I mean, if we took away the credit cards, the cost would go down.
The cost would go down, so wouldn't our profits.
Because they're not buying more.
Because our volume would go down considerably. We'd go down from an average sale of $4 to $1.71. And of course, and that is why businesses use credit cards, not because they like paying money to Visa, but because it increases their bottom line.
Yeah, I understand all of that. I mean, and if it wasn't for the delegation asking these questions, I wouldn't say a word about it.
I wouldn't either, yeah, you're right.
Okay,
All right,
Page 4 is your summary through April.
ouch.
Well, it looks worse than it is. The number to focus on is that 25,160. That is where, our revenue was down, our expenses were equally down, leaving us off budget by $25,000. Not that being off by anything is good, but it's, we were fortunate. Revenue down by variance over 4 months from budget $608,000, but our expenses were down compared to budget by $583,000.
Okay, now, this is 4 months.
Correct.
So, what's your estimate for the year? Are we gonna be down $75,000, $80,000? With 25 after a third of the year, are we gonna be down, $75,000 at the end of the year?
I'll know better about this time next month, because if there's a big unknown in our revenue, it's pro-share.
I know,
And
we're
that's
talking about, I talked to Kathy about that this morning.
and
That's
we-
due out soon.
July.
Yeah.
And we should get word by the end of this month. Now, that can change everything.
Okay, so we'll wait until next month.
Yeah, next month we should be able to give you pretty good predictions through the end of the year.
Okay.
The page 5 is the revenue, is actually the details of that sheet, so that you can see all the details. And with the caveats noted below it, the notes, that there's a reason why these sheets do not reconcile with Kathy's, is because we've made some assumptions that are in blue, that are not, that are amortized amounts. Page 6 shows the same thing with expenses.
These are nice forms.
Well,
I like them.
now I'm gonna give you something different,
Okay.
because not everybody can read those forms. Page 7, I found that over time, and it's gonna be a help, I think, with even our management staff, it's seeing that same data displayed in a graphic form. So our revenue compared to budget, and the budget line is the black line, that's what's been budgeted, so we're clearly under. Page 8 shows expenses compared to budget, the budget line being constant. We didn't weight that for seasonal adjustments. But it shows that we started the year way in the budget, and we're coming up to the budget line now. That's not uncommon because of the because of the situation where our budget isn't approved until May. We hold back on just about every expense that we can in January and February and March, not knowing exactly what's gonna happen budget-wise. So there ends up being a little bit of catch-up. 9, you know, if you wanna see where the money comes from, it's coming from census. This is good news. You always, the red line, the heavy red line is always the current year. The black line is the year before. Our census is far better than last year. It touched at the same point in April, but every other month has been
And
above.
the income should be more.
Well, it is, and in fact, you'll see how that breaks down as we go forward. In page 10, skilled census is an income line that is not favorable. Skilled census last year, which is our Med A beds, were higher.
Is this because of Genesis again?
No,
And
Genesis
eligibility is-
Genesis doesn't control this. There's other charts that you'll see that Genesis has input into, but the census we control who we admit, how many people, and our skilled admits have been down compared to, our skilled days have been down compared to last year. Page 11, Medicaid census, the red line is below last year. 12, though, our private pay census, which is favorable financially, is above last year. '13, the RUG days,
Excuse me, Howie, sorry for interrupting, but what does the figures in the vertically in the left column, are they percentage or number of patients or
those are actually number of people.
number of people?
Number of people on average. Actually, patient days.
So we go from 25 to 29 patients?
Yep, so it's an increase of four
We're still probably
residents.
the highest private pay facility, county facility in the state.
That I don't know.
I think
Percentage-wise, we should be.
Percentage-wise, I think we
That could well be.
Yeah.
And that's not because, truth is, we're not pursuing private pay. That's not a priority, we don't turn our back. But what we have that no other county has are county facilities that are superior to any
Yeah.
private facility.
Okay.
Where we need is to increase our skilled census.
What's RUG?
Howie, on that, you said that it was the number of patient days,
For patients, number of residents.
number of residents, okay, that makes a difference.
So I'm done when it comes to rugs.
Yeah,
What
what
I-
Drugs,
I
that
got you.
has to do, think of that as being for our skilled residents, their intensity of care, their acuity level. And it parallels census for the better part. Although this is something that,
And again, what is vertical on the left and what does right stand for?
vertical on the left is days per month. That's days per month of residents who qualify for the RU category. Probably the more telling one that Genesis has input into is the next one, which is the point index, which is the amount of services that they're, essentially the amount of units of services that they're providing to our skilled residents. And it started out in January way low, and it's now crossed last year, since we hope it's gonna continue, but that's gonna be important. 15, the Part B units is favorable. It's not a lot of money. It doesn't generate a lot of money, but it is favorable. And I'll be getting you over time more operational reports like number 16, first reports of injury, and eventually being able to compare that on a year-to-year basis, but. you know,
And again, Howie, the left is what?
that's number of reports.
Number of reports.
So you see in May, there were 6 reports of injury. I
And
say
you put
that-
that you don't know, and now is that injury to a patient, injury to a worker?
Staff. Good
Well,
point.
let's change that to first
Yes.
reports of staff injury.
That's well taken. And that's an important metric, because the workers' comp expense is huge. And everything that we're trying to do here, it's an old axiom, and it's a little tired, but it's one that I think is still true. You can't manage what you can't measure. If you can't measure it, there's no real way to manage it. So we're trying to measure things and to try to make change as a result. The last one are actual shifts of agency staff.
And that again is number of people? Or
Yeah, number of shifts. So
So-
in May, there were 8 shifts. We had to hire through agency, we filled 8 shifts, typically 8-hour shifts with
And each shift is one person?
one person. And so, it's, while any agency is, compared to some counties, compared to Cheshire, who a third of their building is used agency staff, any is expensive, but it's not horrible, but we're still trying to minimize it, which is why want to review that per diem part. If there's any way that we can open the door to expanding hours with non-agency staff, we'd be that much better off.
Howie, these are excellent. I'd like to see one more chart, and that would be the amount of money paid each month or total for agency employees.
And with dollar part, that is easy, because I actually track that. That comes off the same spreadsheet. Dollars paid for agency.
Howard, you got anything else?
That is all that I have for you.
Anybody got any questions? Further question?
No?
I guess we drilled you enough.
Well,
Thank you, Howard.
Excellent, Howard.
and with your
Thank you.
permission, I assume based on our discussion that I have permission to share this information with the subcommittee.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Well,
Mr. Chairman?
Hot seat is ready.
Could I make a suggestion?
Nice and warm. Thanks.
In the future, that we take a look at who's coming in here, and we'll never take very much time and have him come in, maybe first and get out, so that when we get tied up on a long one, when we fall behind, we're not having people sit around.
Here's one for Wilson. I'll just be real quick here, probably, unless you guys have a bunch of questions. The only, I didn't put it on here, but one request or question, I guess, is that listening to you guys talk about these line items and going to jail and personally paying for things and all those, is if there's a lot of changes, if we could, as department heads, get updated a little bit more. I know we tried to with that department head meeting, but,
yeah.
I mean, a lot of things sound like they've been changing, and I'm not up, I haven't spent over anything, and I don't plan to, but it would just.
Thing you gotta keep in the back of your mind is you don't wanna overspend an item.
Right.
A line item.
Right, and we try to do that with all costs, but the example you guys brought up about a boiler blowing up or something like that's really important. I just think it'd be nice if you guys could have,
Yep.
inform the department heads for us. Anyways, back to the thing, we've been bagging wood, we've delivered a little over 3,000 bags so far. We've got probably
Excuse me, well, what, 275?
$2.75 a bag plus delivery charge, and that can vary on the location. On average, it's about $75. We have probably 1,500 in inventory right now that'll be going out.
15,000,
No, 1,500.
1,500.
Yeah, we're very low. It's probably about 3 truckloads. We're trying to get ahead, but we're bagging the fastest we can.
Because of the lack of inmates?
It's actually increased. The last probably 2 weeks has really helped.
Yeah.
Jason has sent us a lot of, we're probably running 6 to 7 inmates right now, between males and females to get combined. So it's really helped, but we got a lot of other things going on too. You figure at least 1 to almost 2 days a week, they get put off to do the lawns. So then you're left with only 3 days of bagging.
Yeah.
But if you have, if they have appointments or if they go out on deliveries, 2 have to go out on deliveries, your crew gets shorter. So haying coming up, that's gonna cut into some time, so.
Okay.
75% of the hoop house is planted with tomatoes.
Can I go back to wood for a second?
Yes, sir.
Well, the $2.75 a bag, is that a contracted price we have with the state, or how? Are we getting enough money for the wood? I mean, do you think that's a fair price given the market? Or do you think, is there any room to increase that price?
There hasn't been any formal contract, it's been
Okay.
more of, that we agreed to that price if they bought a certain amount of quantity from us.
Okay.
That's how we got started with that price.
Okay.
How much are they selling it for?
They sell it somewhere between $5 to $6 a bundle, you know, you got about a 50%.
So we're not even making half.
They're close to a 50% markup. But also at $275 for them, you figure in, I don't know how many cents it is, but $75 for the load, so they gotta divide that in to count their cost per bag. I think it was I haven't done the math in a long time, so.
Go ahead.
Well, the only suggestion I would make is if we have the opportunity at some time to tie it to the cost of a truckload of wood.
Right.
You know, I mean, if it's coming in and we're getting 10 cord for $1,000 and the next time we're getting 10 cord for 1,500, we ought to be able to increase the bag or decrease the cost of the wood.
Right.
If you do it both ways, maybe they bite and say, okay.
Yeah.
That'd be my only suggestion.
The other, we to look at it, I don't know, I guess would be your guys' decision, but I don't think that in the middle of the season, it's quite, we should adjust this at the end of the season for the start of next year.
You've already estimated.
Yeah,
what the
that's
revenue's
what
gonna
I'm
be.
saying.
Right.
Next year, we should maybe look at $3 or,
I would think so too.
yeah.
Okay.
The other problem we have too is the quality of our wood in my opinion, the quality of it, because of the amount of dry time that we have, is declining. And so to want to get more of a premium price, but if you're not offering as premium of a product, I think it's a little harder to demand more too.
But if it's camp firewood, I don't know if the quality is quite as serious as opposed to somebody putting it in a wood stove at home and getting
Well-
creosote dripping out the door. I mean, if this is camp firewood,
Yeah.
I don't know if the quality is as big an issue. Well, in my mind it isn't, but
In your mind it isn't, but the campers that don't know how to light fires and you give them green wood, then they go and complain to the managers who
Yeah, I hear
are
ya.
buying it from us, and then they're
Yeah.
calling me saying, how come your wood's so green, but our campers can't burn
light
it?
it,
Then they don't
yeah.
wanna buy it, because they don't wanna go buy
I hear
another
ya.
bundle.
I hear you.
You know, it's just
Yeah.
that cycle. I agree with
Yeah.
you, it's not as important, but
Yeah,
it's all hardwood, they want specifically all hardwood, and then if it's on the green side, it's hard to get hardwood
Yeah.
to light, and
Do you have a starter kit?
no, we put some kindling in each bag,
Each
which
bag.
has helped, and they seem to really like that. That's been a big comment we've gotten back from camp managers, is putting that kindling in there. But other than that, that's all we.
but they all want hardwood. They don't want any pine at the campfire or something.
Yeah, it's all hardwood that all the here and at the prison farm when I worked there, and they still do it, is it's all hardwood. They don't want any softwood in it.
Really?
Well,
So
are we
you-
giving them dried kindling, or are we just taking what comes out of
What comes
falls
out,
out of the machine, and
Exactly.
so it's
Dried
wet
fast.
also?
right? That's what also. It's whatever comes out of the machine is what goes in it. So that's why I mean it's not having we don't have an inventory of wood. As soon as I get it in, we're shipping it out.
Yeah.
And it's really in this business, you should have some inventory to let that dry.
Absolutely.
And it's harder to, try to negotiate and demand higher prices if you're not having that. But-
Yeah, I hear you. Okay.
75% of the hoop house is planted with tomatoes. They did that last week. We're going to buy a few plants, probably today, to finish that off. And then we're also hopefully gonna get the rest of the garden in this week. I've got it all discarrowed up there, but we've had rain the last 2 days. I need to get back on and do the rototiller and then lay the black plastic. So that's in the plans for,
What kind of, are we going to derive any income, profit from the hoop house?
well, we've got a bunch of tomatoes in there that we can give sell to the nursing home.
And the food pantries?
Yeah, we don't
Whatever
drive any
left
income
over.
from that though, so. if
No, we
they're-
don't get anything.
Right. So I've dramatically cut down what we're growing and the quantities we're growing, just because we don't have a huge outlet and there's more time is spent bagging wood and making more profit than the vegetables, so.
Okay. So what are you planting in the garden?
We got tomatoes, we're gonna do green peppers, eggplant, cucumbers, green beans, wax beans, summer squash, zucchini. She's got some melons, cantaloupe of some sort, she's doing an experiment, Olivia.
This is all in the hoop house?
No, in the hoop house, it's mostly gonna be tomatoes, some green peppers, and eggplant.
Okay. Okay, go ahead.
as the dry weather comes, the hay's starting to look good, so if we can get some dry weather, we're gonna be starting our hay season here pretty quick. Also trying to keep up with the lawns. Pretty much right now, it's, especially with the rain coming back, it's on a weekly basis for the most part. We try to have it towards the end of the week, so that way everything looks good if there's events on the weekend here. And then, last thing is on Monday, which is the 15th, we have a delegation, supposed to have a tour of the farm. You guys requested for me to put out some dates to have that. The ones that came back, the majority that came back said the 15th would be good. And so I set it at 9:30 because in the afternoon there is a subcommittee meeting, I
Yeah,
believe.
2 o'clock. Yep.
So in the morning I advised to bring clothing and/or foot gear that can be worn in rough terrain because I plan to
You're gonna be here and there?
have everybody walk around.
Okay. Okay, anything else?
That's it.
All
How
right.
many delegation members responded and how many are coming?
The first email to get a date, I had probably half of them that responded at least, and or maybe a little bit more than half. Since I've sent this out, I think I've only had 2 or 3 respond back on whether they're going to be able to come or not. So I haven't heard I sent that out last week to give them 2 weeks advance notice, but like I said, I only heard back I think from 2.
Not surprising.
No. All right, thank you, Will.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Attorney, county attorney? Good morning, good morning. All right, you've got a grant request that needs to be signed and a certification form, and go ahead. What do we need to do? Let's do it in order so we can
Okay,
make sure we get everything.
the certification form goes actually with the EEOP plan,
Okay,
which Lynette has done up, and I believe you had copies
Yep.
of that.
Yep.
There's,
these are the original?
those are the originals.
And this is the entire grant that's the normal
Yep.
annual grant, except this year it's through the federal VOCA instead of the state
Have
program.
you given this to our grant assessment committee or whatever they call it?
This is a grant, yeah. To me, any new grants should go to that committee. This is an ongoing grant that's been going on for
A long time.
Years.
15 years at least that I've been here, so I don't see that it's gonna
Well,
change anything.
I guess it's a 2-to-1 vote. I disagree with you.
Okay, well, how do you feel about
I
it?
think that if we've asked them to review the grants and we get a grant, we don't give it to them because we've been doing it for years. That doesn't mean anything in that grant that we haven't caught over those 25 years might show up with this committee doing their work.
Okay,
You have a
so,
comment?
so if there's,
Send it to the grant committee, that's my vote on it.
Okay,
It's a new grant this year, it used to be from the state, this year is from the feds, so it is a new grant. I say let the grant committee look at it.
Is there a deadline?
yes, there's a
Monday.
yeah, there's a deadline, so, if you need to do that, that needs to be sent today,
What's the deadline?
Monday.
Monday.
Let's sign it. Change my vote, let's sign it. I don't wanna miss out on this.
Could you forward a copy of it after the fact to the
Yeah.
grant committee, and that
Yeah.
way at least.
I have a couple of questions about the grant.
Okay.
Number one, is it the federal government's policy to dictate to the county what we're gonna pay?
we're gonna
Sure, I
pay.
understand.
Well, if you've read it, it says in the grant how much we're gonna pay.
That's what is in the grant for how much is being paid is off of the budget. It's not something that it's off of this year's budget, what those figures came from this year's budget.
So that's the federal government, well, it was actually in the state of New Hampshire's portion of the grant, however, it's 28 pages or whatever works. It gives your salary.
Correct.
My other question is, and please don't take it as a comment begrudging your service, Wanda, but Do we hire all new employees at the same price as the exiting one gets?
No, we didn't do that. We didn't do that.
So that 43,000 in
It's
there
nice.
is what you were being paid before, or you don't get any, I'm not saying you shouldn't get an increase, but I don't know that
No.
you should be getting the same thing
I'm-
somebody who's done it for 15 years does.
And I'm not, I'm making less than
Okay.
Melissa made.
Okay.
Is that the only place for me to sign on that certification?
Yes,
Okay.
It also said in the email that there were some changes, and I didn't know what the changes were in the reading the thing. What were the changes?
the changes.
We have to hire
was-
more males, was one of them, I think it was.
Oh, in that plan, they,
White males.
white males.
White males.
Well,
Yes.
that's a,
In the nursing, as far as the plan went and from the figures that, percentages of different categories, the nursing and administrative, positions, in the county overall, apparently are the
Way on how,
lower number.
whether we get a grant for your department.
I'm sorry?
I said, how we hire at the nursing home
It's,
weighs in on whether we're gonna get a grant for your department. That makes a lot of sense. Not from you people, but from the government. I
yeah,
would think
they,
you'd be measured on your own department, not what some other department in the county complex is doing. And as I read it, same thing as you did, it's the white males at the nursing home, not in your department.
Yeah, been down that road before. I love it.
and this is the portion.
Which is the plan? Is it where we need to show more equal opportunity? Is that the state's portion, or is that something that's being passed down from the feds to Carroll County? It was.
That's what HR did.
That's fed.
if the grant's approved, then you just have to have a plan in place, and so that's what it's out.
And we don't have
Well,
to.
where did the plan come from, I guess is my question. Is the
HR.
plan from the
HR.
state or from?
HR did it.
Our HR department.
Okay.
Some of those are
Are you submitting
something
this or am I
nursing home.
submitting it?
to go out and be recruit white males. I mean,
Well, I'm gonna submit it, but
I'd
I
love to
believe
see an ad in
last
the paper
years,
that says
Name
what
of
white
individual
males
submitting
to work at the
application.
nursing
you signed
home.
it,
I sign it?
You signed it last year.
yes, that's why.
Everybody's determined, I guess, that they're supposed to sign.
Thank you.
How's everything going?
Yeah, I mean, I just, on this thing, I think it probably should go to the delegation committee. I'm not sure if it's necessary or not, so that, for their review or whatever, but
It's a committee, a
Well,
grant
when-
committee
well,
that's
when
set up
we-
here?
well, but see, when, from the delegation, I guess, I
No,
don't know what it is.
No,
This grant committee is by the commissioners.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
It's a committee that's put together to review,
Oh, all right.
I thought, new grants, but
Oh, okay.
I guess
It's not the delegation then. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. All right, so anyways, we're just doing whatever the commission
Mr. Chairman.
needs. It's just that we wanted to make sure that everything was authorized and everything. But as we proposed this, it was, you know, with the budget this last
Yep.
time, which was approved,
Yep,
it was with this 25,000.
that's exactly right.
And the Department of Justice basically is doing all the switching, and they made the recommendation not to go with the state one, but with the local one.
Yeah.
So it's not like, the only thing is on what the funds actually have to be used in different categories for, and, you know, certain federal restrictions, but other than that, it's basically replacing the other one with, you know, the federal guidelines.
Which is a good point, it was already in our budget for 25,000.
You told us that this in
Right.
budget that it was gonna go, it's gonna be coming from the feds, not the
Right.
state.
Yeah.
The only issue we have is to have enough lead time to have these grants reviewed by the committee, so,
Next year, yeah, see if we can't get it done earlier.
Right.
okay.
Well, in fact, after the budget was approved, then they then they notified us like a couple of weeks later or whatever, after the monies had already been committed with a
Yeah.
July 1st, deadline
Yeah.
for, and June 15th, because the funds have to start July 1st, I guess, so, that everyone scrambled, and we had to wait several weeks before we could even get the package, because they weren't being processed by Justice, so.
Yeah.
Then we got them, and then we've been working on all three departments ever since.
Okay, go ahead.
I would like the record to show that I protest this, and I would vote no if it came to a vote, that I don't agree that it should go forward without a review of the,
Okay, 2-1
Did you,
right now.
should you vote to sign this?
Do I hear a motion?
Yes, so moved.
Motion made to sign all documents relating to the $25,000 grant for domestic violence? Victim witness.
Witness.
Okay,
And, program, what is it?
I'll second it.
Assistant,
Second, all in favor?
All in
Yes.
favor,
how about
yes.
some discussion?
Okay,
How about some discussion?
okay.
Go ahead.
I'm gonna vote in favor of it, but I want it noted in the minutes that I protest. This committee has been set up for over 2 years. We've been reviewing grants. This should have been part of the process, should have gone through it. I'm not gonna hold up them getting their money because, well, it won't make any difference anyway. But in the future, I'd like to, all grants that we get here are supposed to go through this committee, or that's what we agreed to do. I'll vote yes, but I want it noted that I'm not really in favor of going forward without having been reviewed.
Would you like for the committee to prepare a draft procedure for the commissioners as to how the
No, I mean, it's a
committee
grant.
process works so that everyone's on the same page and you can approve that? It's never been formally adopted.
Debbie, do we have anything written regarding the awards committee, the grant
Not that I'm
committee?
aware of.
All right, that's something that,
As a member of
Or
the
to
committee, I'd
consider.
be happy to draft something.
no.
No?
HR will draft it,
Okay. Sorry, Dick.
okay? All those in support of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And so voted. Anything else?
I heard 2 ayes?
Well, this is a silent majority.
Oh, okay.
All right,
He lost
How's
his
that?
voice yodeling.
Oh, I was just making sure for the record. I didn't hear the third one, I didn't know if I lost my hearing.
Anything else?
I had already voted positively,
All right,
I
thank
had to
you.
vote again, but
At some point in time, it'd be nice if you could come in and give us a report as to types of things you're involved in and that kind of a thing. You've been on the job now for 2 months? Well, in 6 months, could you come in?
Yeah.
Okay, good, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
You wanna go into non-public? Okay.
How's the rest of our schedule?
Well, he's gotta go to Wolfboro.
Oh, okay.
This won't be long.
Anybody wanna make a motion?
I'll make a motion to go into non-public session under 91-8.3, paragraph 2A. The dismissal, promotion, or compensation of any public employee, or the disciplining of such employee, or the investigation of any charges against him, unless the employee affected has the right to a meeting. 2, request the meeting to be open, in which case the request shall be granted, and B, the hiring of any person as a public employee.
Second. Roll call.
Commissioner Miller,
yes.
Commissioner Sorensen.
Yes.
Commissioner Babson.
Yes.
So voted then. We're now in public session, everybody's excused.
Non-public.
Non-public. It's okay. Everybody's. Okay, we're back in non-public. I'll make a motion that we seal the minutes of our non-public session. And the reason for that is it may affect adversely the reputation of any person other than a member of this board. Do I hear a second?
Second,
Second.
Roll call?
Commissioner Miller.
yes.
Commissioner Sorensen.
Yes.
Commissioner Babson.
Yes.
Okay. Minutes are sealed. We're backing on into public session. Go ahead, Tom.
Okay, the county attorney's office will put forth the name of Chelsea E. Lane as new assistant county attorney to replace Megan Mullen, who has gone to Stratford County. Her background has been checked, and we put in approval through the New Hampshire Attorney General's office as is required by the applicable statute. She comes as one of the applicants in the recent hiring process. She has experience from private law office as well as the public defender's office. She comes with a lot of recommendations from people in the community and notables. I put that forward for approval by the commission.
Make a motion that we
Approve the recommendation.
approve the recommendation of the county attorney and his advice to hire Mrs. Chelsea Lane as the new recruit.
Assistant.
Attorney or whatever.
Seconded. All those in support of the motion, any further discussion? All those in support of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye, and so voted.
That's all pending the Attorney General's approval,
Okay.
which we hopefully expect soon.
All right, good,
Thank you.
thank you.
Can we break for a minute, would that be okay for both purposes?
We'll break anytime.
Just stretch.
Assistant county attorney.
Just need to stretch. 2.5 hours.
Did we have, is Jason was here for a while, didn't he?
Yeah, but it's under his performance evaluation, so I would have it non-public.
Yes.
Okay.
The only other one we gotta get is Debbie.
Okay.
5-minute break.
Thank you.
And you guys been sitting like that, right? Okay, Debbie, you have something for recognition news.
I actually have a few different things. First of
Okay.
all, I wanted to let you be aware real quick, there was a problem with the website this morning. It appears that all of the website email information, contact information was still resting with Forest Page, and as you're aware, has been gone for quite some time. That issue has been taken care of, but it may take a couple hours yet for the website to come back entirely. But the website, our domain name, Carroll County
Okay.
NH.net, has been renewed for another 5 years. So if anybody, members of the general public, et cetera, has any concern about that, it has been addressed, it has been taken care of.
Okay.
Next thing I wanted to make you aware of quickly is the fact that open enrollment was a success. We did have very good turnout with nearly 100 participants in the scheduled sessions that we had this year. I would like to give thanks to Kirsten Van Buskirk at New Hampshire and the Local Trust and Shannon Parr at Concepts and Benefits Task for the time that they spent with us Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of open enrollment week. They were here morning, noon, and afternoon and did a remarkable job in making sure that those sessions
They get
went
all the
very
shifts.
smoothly. Yep, we did a very good job with that. They did a very good job with that.
What, can you give us a brief outcome as to any changes that our employees made?
Absolutely, absolutely. First of all, the transition from Concepts and Benefits to Task, which is Total Administrative Solutions Corporation, went very, very smoothly. It was painless. They did and uploaded the information that we had. We had at that particular point in time, I believe, 14 employees enrolled in the flexible spending accounts. All of that transition went off without a hitch. It was absolutely painless. The increase in our enrollment in the flexible spending account went from that approximately 14 individuals to 36, so it more than doubled. The increase in our vision plan also more than doubled. Medical stayed pretty much the same. We had some people picking up the insurance, but at the same time we had people who were dropping dependents or dropping the plan entirely in favor of a spouse's plan.
Yeah.
So medical really didn't change too much.
Okay.
Winnette had asked, Winnette had asked that I please provide the board with 2 copies of the Mountain View Community Contract. These collective bargaining agreements need to be signed into effect, please.
We passed them, but we didn't sign them.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
That's public from last week.
Okay.
Okay, I just need a signature on it, it's sealed, but.
Oh. You weren't here, so you don't, this is non-public, maybe last week.
Yeah. That's it.
Do you have to vote on those?
I'll make a motion, we approve the non-public minutes of, what's the date on that one?
June 3rd.
June 3rd.
Would you mind if I read it?
No, you
Well,
can't,
not-
you weren't here, you can't read
weren't
it.
here.
I'm not gonna
How
let
can
you
do
read
that?
that.
Oh, okay.
Let's go by the book now.
Yeah, you're right.
When we go by
You're
the
right.
book, we gotta go by the book.
You're right, you're right. Just kidding.
I'll second that motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Well, you sure gave me a lot of information.
Okay, what else you got?
Those are sealed, I'm sorry.
What?
Are those sealed?
Yes.
Okay.
What else you got?
Since we're on policies,
Yeah.
sorry for being late, I was at a meeting today. The other policy that we had worked on a few weeks ago, the Employee Assistance Program Policy and Procedure, and you had a copy of it, and you asked me to have Tom Dewhurst review it, and he saw no issues, no concerns with it regarding the liability or exposure. So I was hopeful that you would approve this policy because this will also be incorporated into our performance evaluation training that's taking place on June 23rd for all of the supervisors who are responsible for writing evaluations. And I want to make sure that the presenters, Primex, can incorporate this piece into the training.
Okay.
So I'm hopeful that you would approve it today.
That's this one here.
No, it's one that we had a few weeks ago on the Employee Assistance Program.
David, don't get these tangled up, they're two different things.
No.
That one there, that one there is yours.
That's the original, you can, that's the one.
That's one. Right here. So this is the one we've discussed about 3 different times now, right?
Yes, and you just
Yeah.
wanted to make sure the county attorney took a look at it to see if we had any
Yeah.
liability
Yeah.
or exposure. And he said there were no concerns because it's the
Okay.
EAP, it's MK Solutions and Interlocal Trust that oversees this program.
So we have voted on it, or we have not?
You had not voted on it until
You wanna make a motion?
Tom looked
I
at
make
it.
the motion that we approve the new,
Employee Assistance Program Policy and Procedures. I'll second it. Any further discussion? All those in support of the motion say aye.
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 Okay,
Thank you.
as soon as he gets through,
Dave, this is the thing for Wander and Tom.
Yep. Yep.
Next up.
that's, now it's all goes together. Okay, you wanna sign that? We'll pass it on.
I was reviewing my notes from previous meetings and that, and I happened to look at the matrix review, which is about 10 months old.
The performance.
Yeah. And these two can chime in after me, but I think it's been about 10 months. I'd like the two of you at some time in the future to come in and review with us how we're progressing on the recommendations, kind of line item by line item.
What's been
So,
done.
Yeah. So, you know, you pick a date when you want to do it, but I think it's time to, we've had about 10 months time to get going on
By the
that,
end
so-
of the month,
Yeah.
June.
Okay.
Anything else you have?
Yes. Yes. On May the 13th, I believe it was, you had requested that we look into some kind of longevity recognition for
Mhm.
employees who have been here for long periods of time. And Winnet and I were looking at that, and in the course of our discussions, we actually received an offer that we didn't feel we could pass up. Northeast Delta Dental maintains a luxury suite at the stadium where the Fisher Cats play their games. On June the 26th.
None of the commissioners are eligible for this, right?
No.
Okay, just want to make that clear.
And neither are you.
Okay, I said commissioners.
Yeah.
All right.
On June the 26th, the Fisher Cats are playing a home game against the Seattle Sea Dogs. And Northeast Dental has provided us with 12 tickets
Wow.
to their luxury suite. The package includes snacks and drinks in the suites, and they also provided us with one VIP parking ticket as well. So we took a look at the employees who worked the longest in the county. And ultimately, we looked at those who are at 20 years, at 25, at 30, at 35, and 40 and above. And it turns out that we have 6 employees who meet those criteria, 3 who are at 20, 25, 30, or 35, and then 3 who are at 40 years or more.
Wow.
So each of those individuals will be receiving 2 comp tickets to the luxury suite for the Fisher Cats Sea Dogs game, with access to the snacks, the beverages, and the one employee who has worked the longest for the county at 43 years now will also be receiving.
From the nursing home?
Yes.
Yeah.
Will also be receiving the VIP parking ticket.
Great.
Sounds good.
So,
Excellent. Thank you.
you're very welcome. What we need to know from you is, was it your intent to provide a day off for those ladies if they're scheduled to work that day?
I'm in favor of it.
Yeah,
I
me too.
certainly am.
All right,
You got it.
Cindy? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is this an annual thing that may be happening, or just a
We're
hit and miss?
We're going to try to make sure that this kind of recognition is not just a one-year thing. We
Yeah.
would like to do it every year.
Yeah, it's important that we do that.
Yeah.
Thanks for following up on that.
You're very welcome.
And thanks to Delta Dental for
Yes, providing that
thinking
for
of
us.
us and,
Yeah.
and letting us have the suite so that we could do this.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Anything else?
That's it.
I think that's it.
That's it? Okay.
I'll catch up with you on all the other stuff after.
I guess policy review you've done,
Yep, that
right?
was what we needed to, I needed to get done.
Okay.
We have a few other outstanding ones, but we'll get to them.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else you want to bring up this morning?
Well, we got the work session, but I can't see holding up. We've already held up people all morning. Let's
Yep.
get it done.
Yeah, let's get,
We can go back to it.
Okay. Then we'll go to the non-public with Jason Henry, Superintendent of the House of Correction, for his annual or periodic evaluation.
And that will be under RSA 91-A3, paragraph 2.
A,
2A, excuse me, right?
the dismissal, promotion, or compensation of any public employee, or the disciplining of such employee, or the investigation of any charges against him unless the employee affected has a right to a meeting. 2, request that the meeting be open, in which case the request shall be granted.
I'll second it.
Roll call?
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Sorensen.
Yes.
Commissioner Babson.
Yes.
All right, we're back in non-public for review.
I'll second the motion.
And we come, and the reason,
No.
no, that's for sealing it. Yeah, we gotta,
Second it, and then you gotta, and
Yeah.
Okay, seal this.
seal it.
No, we don't have to, we didn't take any minutes.
Huh?
Gonna take it.
You're gonna take the minutes for the non-public.
Oh, really?
Yeah, well, you remember the deal?
I got seniority here, Junior. I'll be glad to do it.
Okay,
I was making notes as we went along.
Make a motion that we come out of non-public.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in support of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Now, would someone make a motion to seal the minutes?
I'll make a motion that we seal the minutes.
Effective adversely the reputation of any person other than a member of this board?
Well, wait a minute, all wages are public information, aren't they? Can we seal them for,
Well,
Can we
this
seal
is
them until-
this is a
until-
contract,
Yeah.
not,
yeah,
Yeah, we can seal this.
until we get it locked up,
Yeah.
and then we can make
Yeah.
it public.
okay. I'll second it.
All those in favor, Commissioner Miller, yes.
Sorensen, yes.
Yes.
Okay. Motion passes.
Motion to adjourn? Or are we in a work
Do we
session?
have any
Yeah,
other
yeah.
work session? I
Got
gotta
a
go
lot
get
of
something
stuff
to
for
eat.
work session.
Huh?
A lot of stuff for
You
work
have?
session, yeah. Wait a minute, we got out of it, Mrs. Kenny would be upset if we didn't have exactly the right time, so it's 12:53 and a half.
Are we gonna have lunch and then start in again? Do you wanna do that?
Yeah, let's do
Let's
that.
do that,
Okay.
See if we can get lunch.
yeah, let's do that.
So we're gonna
We'll recess
recess
until
until,
1:30 or
Yeah.
quarter to 2. Wow. Okay. 1 o'clock. Recess until 1:45.
Well, we don't need 45 minutes, do we?
All
all
right.
depends how
Recess
fast
to-
we,
Recess to 1:30.
okay.
What do you do now? Go to lunch, then what do you do when you come back?
And we have a
Work session where,
No, it's not.
All right, call the meeting back to order. And I guess the next item on the agenda is the work session, so Commissioner Babson, you got some items you want to talk about?
yes, I do. The first is, I think I gave you people a copy of this that I sent to Karen Umberger.
Yep.
The delegation wanted to be kept up to speed on where we were. Did you get one of these, Denny?
Yes, I did.
Um,
Well, I've read the, I don't have a copy of it, but I did read it. It
okay.
was here last week.
Well, I don't think it was, because I just did it this week.
No, the dollar amounts, not the explanation, but you had a handout that had dollar amounts on it. That you gave me, you must have given, you must have had a draft on it, because you said Dave was gonna send this to Karen
Yes,
after we
yes,
reviewed
yes,
it.
yes. Yep.
So I did review that,
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay, so you guys have seen this?
yes.
Any corrections or additions? I sent it to her and,
Do we have to be that elaborate? This is for the first quarter, so what you did.
no, this was for the first 4 months. And what it was is 8.3% is 1/12, so I multiplied it times 4. Well, actually, that's incorrect, that should be May. It was anything over 43% that was, 55 or 60 or 80. I made a note here so they could say they weren't warned.
Okay.
Overtime way up 74%, 51%, 77, 81%. Just to give them a heads up, I didn't tell them where to take the money, it's just so there was no question that they knew.
And you did say that it may have been a payment made in the beginning of the year versus.
Oh, yes, they did, and
All the way
two,
along?
not one-time payments or contracts, et cetera, that may have been made for the year.
Well, I guess we should discuss what do we include in there. For instance, we know right now that we're gonna be over budget on audit, between 35 and 45.
Yeah.
But we're not gonna get those bills until the final one will be in December.
Yep.
So do we just use the information that is coming off of the sheets that are being run, the printouts, or do we go further than that and notify the delegation when we are 80% sure we're gonna have a problem, even though it hasn't appeared on any of the financial statements?
Well,
That's a good question.
I think we have to let them know early enough so that, I'm hoping DRA is going to say we need supplemental budget. So we have to have those estimates before that time so that we have a fairly decent figure as to why we're gonna be over and why we need more money.
Well, you know, like, in one of the meetings we had, and this goes back to like the May 10th delegation meeting, Mark McConkey asked if we could get an estimate on what the audit expenses were gonna be, and, you know, we've narrowed that down. We know it's between 30, well, right now it's 37 to 45,000. Should we put that in there, Dave, too?
I think so.
Yeah, I think that the reason I'm doing it, I think it was Representative Cardelli that wanted to know why they didn't know ahead of time,
Yeah,
and could they be warned?
yeah, I
So,
mean,
anything we put on here is, I think
it's based on an estimate, not on anything but an estimate, but that's,
These were your figures, right,
yeah.
that you put together?
Yeah, so that,
so.
The thing I don't know what we did was, how much do we have encumbered?
we've spent everything that's
Everything that's
encumbered.
encumbered is spent.
Everything that's
Every
been
penny.
encumbered. I
Okay.
talked to Kathy Armstrong. She said the only money we had left was the $10,000 in the nursing home that was audit legal,
Yeah.
and that's down to 7. But and she had talked to Jesse, and I talked to Jesse. Both of us talked to the audit firm, and we both came with the same number that for the remainder of this year, we're gonna get billed $45,000. And the only thing we had to offset that was that one item in the nursing home. All the rest of it's been spent.
It's been spent.
Everything's spent. So
Okay.
that line item is $37,000 to $45,000 right now. And the reason we can't be sure is because it's, if it goes to legal before it goes to audit, then it's 45, so.
Well, we know that the attorney that's gonna represent us in court before Primex, the insurance company, takes over, is gonna take some of it, a little bit of it.
So I'd say right now is the number we should put in there, Dave, on that thing we're sending to Karen and Berger, we should put in that the audit fees are gonna be $40,000 to $45,000 over budget.
And that takes us through December 1st.
Yes.
And that is for the commissioners, not for the nursing home or
Well, that's for Bulio.
Yeah.
That's for Bulio.
audit to be over how much?
40 to 45,000.
Okay. Do you want me to continue at the end of the month doing this and sending it to her?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I don't frankly see why it's on the webpage, why they can't do their own work, but apparently they don't know.
Well,
This way, if we do it, they can't say they
They
didn't know.
can't complain, that's right.
yeah.
That takes care of that one. And then we've got, I had a question of why we're getting these sheets. I thought we agreed that Melissa's would be the sheet that we're gonna work, and this doesn't look like Melissa's sheet.
I was gonna bring up the same question.
What is that?
I mean, why does it continue to come out of that office something other than what we agreed to? Here's what we agreed to, apparently. I haven't looked at it, but I'm assuming that's what it is.
The one with the colors on it and everything?
Yeah.
Well, to tell you the truth, Melissa gets these figures from Kathy Geary.
Mhm.
So why doesn't Kathy Geary do it? We pay her to be the financial manager.
Well,
Why can't she do the same thing?
well,
Fact is, she isn't.
Well,
the fact is, she doesn't have the expertise in Excel. Now, if we want to send her out to some courses in Excel and teach her how to do all this stuff in Excel, that's one thing, but she doesn't have the expertise right now. She's comfortable with the old system, ACS. She doesn't have the expertise to do it. That's why we have Melissa doing it. And the delegation likes this, and it's more
well,
informative.
no,
and
I have no problems with the goodness of it. It's just who does it. And you're saying that she can't set this up?
Well,
I haven't
I
asked her,
guess
so I
that's-
don't know.
if she had the ability to do it in Excel, the question is, how come it hasn't been done to this point in Excel? She knows that Melissa's doing it, she knows that the delegation wants it, we've been passing these out for 6 months. If she had the ability, why didn't she take it upon herself to start issuing this in Excel?
Did we tell her to do it?
David,
She's always done it. The old
You're
way.
the one, David, that said that we were gonna make this the official thing for
I
this year.
agree, I agree.
And we've talked about it downstairs with her, that it's gonna be the same one. She still comes and puts that one out. I mean, this one has far more information on it. And it can be, if you go in and you download it, change the name, and then put it in, you can use it as an actual spreadsheet. I guess you can do that with hers too.
I'll talk with her
Okay.
before we go any further.
The only thing that, if I could, the only thing that was difficult at the last delegation meeting is that you had said that the Excel one was the one. So I made sure that there were copies for everybody with the colors and everything, But then they were also given the other one. So everybody was trying to review the information and nobody knew which packet to be in.
Okay,
what
all right,
page, so
I understand.
whatever eliminates confusion.
Okay,
That would
what
be
else you got?
getting rid of county governments. The last thing is, today we received a 91A request, which is perfectly legitimate. Would you mind if I read it into the record, Mr. Chairman?
No, go ahead, go ahead.
This is addressed to, do you mind, Dennis?
Please.
This is to Cheryl Laurent, return receipt requested. This is for her to give to us. Dear Ms. Laurent, Nixon Peabody LLP represents Maynard Thompson. Pursuant to RSA Chapter 91A, Mr. Thompson requests copy of, or an opportunity to inspect and make copies of, any and all documents, electronic or otherwise, from January 1st, 2013 to the present related to Carroll County's purchasing of food products, including but not limited to its purchasing of produce, mushroom, meat, chicken, eggs, and dairy products for its jail and house of correction, its nursing home. Apparently this gentleman thinks we have two of them. Its nursing home, that would be his lawyer, not Mr. Thompson, and any and all similar county facilities and county departments. Should you deny the request or withhold any records within the scope of the request, please set forth the reasons for doing so by citing to the section of RSA Chapter 91A or other New Hampshire law on which you rely. Please be advised that this request is made pursuant to Chapter 91A, New Hampshire's Right to Know law, Carroll County's Right to Know policy. Thank you for your cooperation with this request. Sincerely, Gordon J. McDonald, and he is a lawyer. Now, I don't know whether Mr. Thompson understands, and he's entitled to the information, but 2.5 years of receipts for all the food. We gotta track down all of these receipts. Maybe he doesn't realize when we run out of something, we run down to Hannaford's, we got dozens of little slips. We've got the stuff from Cisco.
Well, how about
We've
the
got
stuff from the farm?
The farm, we got the stuff that has to go to the jail. I hope we'll do it for him, and in fact, I'll come in here and sit here with him for the 2 or 3 days it'll take him to go through it, while he reviews them, or he can pay for the copies, either one, and, but still somebody is, under our policy, has to be present. I hope that there's something really worthwhile gained from this, because we don't have the time with 3 women working in the office, 2 of which have 5 weeks paid vacation every year, and we're coming into the summer. I don't know when we're gonna do it, but we will do our best to adhere to it. And I think we'll
Do
have
they
some
want to
right
come
on.
in and look at our receipts, or do they want copies of our
It
receipts? or
says
both?
look at and copy, I believe.
Yeah, and to make copies of any and all documents.
I'm gonna guess that's about 3,000.
Why, you don't think Rob has it? I mean, the jail gets the food from the nursing home, so you can take out the jail.
No, because they go and buy other stuff that, they go.
Snacks and
Well,
stuff, canteen
they're
stuff.
thinking for the in graduation, for thinking for a change, they go and buy all outside food. They buy stuff for their kitchen in there. They buy stuff for their canteen for.
It
prisoners.
includes everything that we buy for our little, right
for the
outside the
machine,
lawyer's office.
The machine, the Coke machine,
And all the coffee. that-
candy
the
machine, the
we're
coffee
buying
over here.
All the food is everything. I mean, that's,
Can we ask, did you talk with the attorney, or did you?
I called him and he wasn't there, and so when he calls back, and maybe we can come up with something that makes sense, but we just don't have the time with the help that we have to, well, we're gonna have to do it. I shouldn't say we don't have the time, we have to make the time, but,
but that's a tremendous amount of copying that we're gonna have to do to go out and pull all those in. I think it's more than 3,000 copies, Dave,
I mean, you and I sign the checks every month, and you see them.
Maybe if you could talk with the attorney to focus in on just the nursing home as to what we purchase, and leave everything. It'd be nice to know why they want that information, but they don't have to tell us. We have to provide it. But if we could get by just sending them all the purchase orders for the nursing home,
I mean, that's hundreds of pieces of paper. We buy through Navigator, it's a co-op, and then we turn around and we buy from the places they've made the food arrangements with, so there's hundreds of.
but they don't want the POs, they want the invoices, right?
Yeah, I think, what's he say? It says all. Help you inspect, may make copies of any and all documents, electronic or otherwise.
So that's the POs and the invoices.
Yep. And the requisitions if they get those.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's something we've gotta do, that's the other thing. How should we have Cheryl respond to that? That's why I brought it up.
well, she needs to respond right away and say
5
that
days.
we would, it's gonna take time to gather all that information. We received the document, the 91A request, and that it's gonna take us time to go back, they wanna go back 2 years?
2.5.
2.5 years. And if they could be more, if they could focus in on I'm assuming that they're trying to build up local produce.
Well, his organization that he's been pushing is,
Yeah.
food to restaurants, and so I assume maybe they're trying to find out why the nursing home isn't buying more fresh vegetables.
Well, it's like, we tried with the farm, and the previous manager over at the nursing home said, look, they don't produce lettuce or beets or whatever year-round. And so then you go to the supplier that supplies us, and they say, well, you're either gonna buy from us year-round, or,
You're not gonna pay
We're
the
not
same
gonna-
price.
yeah.
Well, it's hard to find fresh tomatoes in February up here in New Hampshire.
Yeah,
So,
that's the wrong one to use.
oh, sorry,
Yeah, they do have a greenhouse over in Maine
okay,
that produces year-round, and it just goes down
okay.
harvesting by
Maybe we
trailer
can-
truckloads. They
The,
ship it all over. But,
But you know, the invoices, I mean, when you start looking at the food that we buy for the nursing homes, I mean, you get a stat from dairy products that'll be 11 pages on one check. I mean, we're talking about
Then we get hood milk, we got the snack guy, we got the.
ice cream guy,
Ice cream guy, we got,
and you know, each one of those checks, the supporting documents could be 5 or 6 invoices underneath it, so.
so could you take those? That's done, what, every 2 weeks?
Well, we're signing checks every week.
hood comes in every 2 weeks, and it's 4 or 5 pages.
Yeah.
Then we
But if
have,
he wants any and all documents, is he
Yeah,
talking
every
about a canceled check, the invoice, the PO?
I hadn't thought to ask that question of the lawyer when I talked to him.
This is a tremendous amount of paperwork.
And isn't he the one that's always talking about the cost of government?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Are they looking for both what we pay for it, as well as what it is?
Well, if you give them the documents, it's gonna be on it, so.
Okay.
What did you say that I want to ask some checks and what else?
Well, we got purchase orders, we've got checks.
Checks,
we've got,
POs,
we've got,
receiving records.
we've got invoices. You know, that's any and all documents. And then, you know, we gotta talk about vending machines and coffee machines, and that's all food related, so. If they want everything,
If he got, I don't know how Rob handles this, but he must have purchase orders that he sends in on a cycle.
I think he
That
does
you
it
request.
electronically, because when we as commissioners do not see the bill to Cisco, because
No.
it's paid directly, because we get
Yeah.
a discount if we pay right away.
Yeah,
so we're gonna have to produce electronic copies of all of that, which is not as bad as going through
right.
payables. I mean,
Right.
that's where it's difficult.
I'm just wondering if they're looking for what we purchase, and if we have purchase orders for it, and it's electronically, then we can ship them fairly quickly.
Well, they've asked for more than that, Dave. I guess we have to find out what they really want.
All right, that's what I said, that's,
Yeah.
if that's sufficient for what they want,
Opportunity to inspect and make copies of. And we get 75 cents a copy, right?
Mhm.
I hope Mr. Thompson's had a good year.
Yeah. That's about $2,500 worth of copies.
Or more.
Yeah.
well, try to call and talk with the attorney again, and see
Yeah, well,
they can focus in on something in particular that they're looking for. Ask them about the Coke machine, do they need to know what that is too? Or if it's just, if they're trying to look at locally produced food, then we can do that.
we don't buy very much, so it wouldn't be,
No,
won't be very many copies of that.
Yeah, but do we have records of what Will is supplying? Does he have good records of
he
what?
listed the things that he's putting in the garden,
I know,
you
but
know, beans,
if you
beets,
ask
tomatoes.
for the last 2.5 years, does he have a list of the food that he's produced and sent to the nursing home? Or does he
I
just?
believe so, because he files a revenue report,
Okay.
and there isn't that much of it.
Okay,
We tried the squash, and it, was too
Pumpkins
much of
we
it at
tried.
one time.
Yeah,
okay,
The blueberries, that's all well recorded.
okay.
Okay,
yeah, the things he grows, we should have.
I won't talk to Mr. McDonald.
You got anything else?
No.
Denny, you got anything else?
Nope.
I don't know how to do this, but,
Oh, yes, we get the action sheet, we haven't done that yet.
okay, let's do that then. Maybe I'll start putting stuff on the board. You got the action?
You guys get your action sheet, Denny?
I have
We
it.
need you
No.
again, because you're the audit man.
No, I don't have my action sheet.
I passed one over, again, we had
You
to
did?
stay and I passed one
Yeah.
over.
Today?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unless Sorensen intercepted it and didn't pass it over to you.
Yes, that's what happened. Okay. Oh, yeah, here's, I want to bring this up too, because this has been troubling me ever since, I think you were missing at that meeting, but Dave and I were down at the New Hampshire County Association and talking to George from
Yeah.
Stratford, and, you know, he's been a county commissioner for 30 years and president of
27.
27. He is adamant that we should not have the nursing home set up as an enterprise fund.
I asked him that this past Friday too, again.
Again,
Yep, he said the same thing.
I would like to invite him up,
Yep,
and I think as president, you should, or as chair, you should do it. I'd like to invite him up, and maybe anybody else that he has from Stratford, to give us his reasoning as to why we're doing it improperly or incorrectly, according to George. I know the state says we can set it up, but according to George, there's disadvantages. And I don't know if it's because of procedural disadvantages or financial
it
disadvantages.
affects our bank loan rate
Okay,
if it's separate. I
Okay.
mentioned that.
well, I think it's worthwhile getting
Yeah.
his perspective on what's going on there.
Yeah.
So I'd like to invite him up.
Okay, we'll invite him up the first meeting that he can. He's filling in two days a week at the New Hampshire Association of Counties.
Okay,
He's got a marina that's, this time of year, and from
Okay.
now on all summer. He claims he's losing money there because he's spending time at the New Hampshire Association.
okay,
But it would be beneficial for us
yeah,
to have him come up and explain it on film that
yeah.
it's not something that we should be doing.
Well, I continue to hear that they have one of the most efficient, well-run nursing homes in the state. I don't think it's as pretty as ours, but I heard it's run efficiently and effectively, but I'd like to hear it from
Well,
George.
the administrator is also the superintendent of the nursing home.
Okay,
So
Yeah.
he watches it pretty closely.
okay. Okay. Audit
Want to talk about
2000,
the audit?
yeah,
We didn't get a management letter, did we? Wasn't that the discussion? We hadn't gotten one?
Oh, let me,
the management letter is delivered when the audit is completed. Now, we have a management letter, we should have one downstairs for 2011. And it says it's been uploaded.
okay,
The
the
2000
DRA claims that they do not have a management letter for 2010, 2011, 2012, and 2013.
Okay, now, 2011, it says this was uploaded to the county website for
No,
2011,
it
right?
says it should be.
Should be. Okay, well, we should have a management letter downstairs for 2011.
Okay.
And
Because
where
that
did you
audit
get-
is completed.
Where did you get the information that we don't have it?
This came directly from DRA,
It was never
from
sent.
Kate that was right next to, sitting right next to me at that meeting when the commissioner was here. She said, we do not have these management letters.
Okay.
In talking with Kathy Geary, she claims that the auditor provides this
He
information.
does.
Okay.
He does the management, they do the management letters. Now, 2012 supposedly
It's done.
is done, but we also do not have a management letter. And there was something about the information we have is the draft, and it's gonna be in draft form until we pay it off, pay for the audit. And 2 weeks ago, supposedly, we had paid
Yep.
for that audit. So we should have a management letter for 11 and for 12.
Okay,
Now, for the previous 8 and 9, back in those years, I don't think they ever did a management letter, and they were playing catch-up in the audits. So I think the first audit that he did was 11. I think they went back and looked at the information from 10, but did they, I don't think they
No,
ever,
I think you got it wrong, Dan. I think they went back,
10,
they
we didn't
were
go back to 9.
working, they were working on 10 and found out 9 was no good.
okay, so,
So they went back to 9, and so really the first one he's done is 10.
now when did you guys get the final results from 10? That had to be last year sometime.
Yeah,
Yeah, it wasn't very long ago.
Okay, so 10 should be downstairs, 11 should be downstairs, and 12
well,
should be available right now.
Yep.
The management letter for 13, I mean, that's gonna be midsummer before we get it, because the audit
July.
is not due until the end of this month. And I asked them to put it on a fast track,
Yep.
but again, typically they're 2 to 4 weeks after the audit's done. And the 2014 is probably gonna be here around New Year's Day, because that audit's supposed to be done December 1st.
Right.
Okay, but there's no reason, I mean, 10, 11, and 12, we should have management letters for all 3 of those years.
Okay,
And if you want me to, I'll call Jesse as soon as I get home and find out where the management letters are for those 3 years.
Okay.
Please.
Okay?
yep.
So,
Just to follow up on where I got that information, at the same meeting, I'm not sure who was there, who wasn't, but the request was from the delegation to send all the legal expenses since January 1 to the delegation. Kathy Gary's working on that, she'll have it all done. To place on the website the vacancy of the treasurer, which was done. If the county attorney cannot support a case of 91A, they want it put in writing by him, saying that he can't do it. And the chair, the vice chair, and the clerk approve transfers upon written request from the commissioners. Those were the five things that they had talked about. And I
Excuse
thought,
me, Dave, let's take them as you go along here.
okay,
Well, looking at that, the ones that were over, we should be sending a letter to the delegation asking them for permission to transfer the stuff according to what.
yep, it goes to the chair, vice chair, and clerk,
So what's our procedure
upon
gonna
written
be?
request from the commissioners. What's our what?
What's our procedure gonna be?
Well, you're sending them, everybody, I guess, on the delegation, right?
What's that?
Where we are,
That thing that I
Overspent.
just read,
Yeah.
like, I sent it to her and she can disseminate it if she
oh,
wants.
okay, you're sending it to her, okay. I guess, unless you think there's something different.
Well, I made that form up, maybe we just send her that form and, says what line is over and where
Yeah.
we'd like it taken from, and,
Yep,
I don't know.
I think that's what they're looking for. Whether they accept where we recommend they take it from is, it's up to them.
I still don't agree with telling them where we're gonna take it from, but I'm not gonna argue that anymore.
What would you tell them then? I mean, they obviously didn't pay attention to us the last time.
Well, that's my point.
Yeah.
That's my point. We sit around here struggling to find someplace in the budget where we can find money for these over expenditures, and did they spend even a second looking at our recommendation? No.
I suspect they did in the caucus out here, that took them a half an hour to figure out what they were doing. When they came in here and
Well,
then they
if
did.
they had the courtesy to say, listen, we looked at your recommendations and here's why we're not following your recommendations. Instead, we've chosen to do it this way. If we had that kind of courtesy from the delegation, it'd be one thing. They don't even speak to the fact that we spent hours trying to come up with a recommendation. I mean, it's like, we're not even in the room.
Right.
So I'm saying, why waste our time?
And just fill the form out and say we're gonna be over,
Yeah,
leave it blank.
yeah. Yeah. I don't mind, trying to run the county as well as we can and do the best we can to run it, but if we spend all this time making recommendations and we're ignored, why are we doing it? What's the sense of
Well,
it?
it goes one step farther than that. I don't know about you guys, but I received an email from Mrs. Umberger saying that the delegation wasn't in any mood for supplementary budget. We're only in the hole $1.5 million. We got $20,000, we got $200,000 we gotta come up with for, where do they think this money's gonna come from?
I don't know, Dave.
I'm hoping DRA says to them, you will.
I do too. I do too. All right, let's move on.
Okay,
Copy contract, that's the IT committee.
Yeah.
They met, do you know if they've met recently?
No, because I'm
Okay.
a member of it, and I'm not a member of it,
All right, you've received the scope of work from DRA. Are you satisfied with what they are planning to do?
yes, and I thought we signed it, I thought you signed it this morning.
I will sign it if I didn't do it this
Okay.
morning. I don't think I did it this morning. Okay, so I'll take care of that.
Can that be put on the website too?
Don't see why not.
Yeah.
Can I ask a very dumb question?
Yeah.
Do we have unlimited space on our county website?
I don't have any idea.
Is there some point we get shut off?
Well, I don't know how many gigabytes we purchase. Typically, you buy X number of gigabytes of storage, and once you
Why
exceed
don't you
that,
check
then
with
you have to
Debbie?
buy more, but,
But it's mostly text and none of it's like
yeah,
video or, anything
So then
really
it-
dynamic, so probably
so-
not taking up a lot of room.
yeah. When you
Well, I
get
was just wondering, because I can't imagine a lot of people are gonna read the scope of work from DRA if we're beginning to crowd our limit.
No, what, I'll guarantee you, when I put on the limit, and the more we put out there, the,
Well, if we're
better
not
we-
crowding our limit, the more we put out, the better off we are.
Yeah.
Okay, finance software, it's being set up for next week.
Yep.
It would be a Skype deal, and John is setting that up, but we don't know at the exact time. I said it didn't matter, but I think they're talking about 10:30.
And we ought to make sure
On
we get an
Wednesday.
invitation out to the,
The invitation will go out to other representatives.
you're gonna talk to George.
Right. I'll get him here as soon as we can. MVC Subcommittee, response to list of accounting questions. That's where that 6%, the credit card deal, the 64,000, which was a supplemental budget.
but it was more than that, because we had
It's a whole list.
a request that, they wanted to know what the cost of creating a standalone entity over there, what,
Moving the accounting to a
Yeah.
standalone.
yeah, and we decided,
Yeah,
that we don't want anything to take away from Paula's efforts to collect our overdue receivables, so
That's right.
we in effect said no to that request. Did
Were
we
all
have-
three of us at that meeting, or?
Yes. Now, were we supposed to respond to the subcommittee, or to tell them why we're not doing this, or? Do you remember?
Well, I think we responded, we're on the tape there saying, no,
Okay.
a week ago or 2 weeks ago, didn't we agree?
Representative McConkey heard it, because he mentioned it at the last meeting, that apparently the commissioners are not going to do the study
Okay,
to see what the cost difference would be.
okay.
Yes, you did say that.
So they had wanted, I just put it on the list because I didn't know if you wanted to actually take each item that was on the notes that I gave you from the meeting, and answer each one. Like, one of the things that they asked for was a breakdown of the finance manager's salary and benefits,
Yeah.
and how much is being, what the total is, and what percentage is being charged to the nursing home.
Yeah.
That was one thing.
And in talking with Kathy Gary about that, she said that it would cost, no question, it would cost more if they did it on their own, because you'd have to hire a person to do it. These questions right here,
Yeah,
right? That's what I was looking for.
So I didn't know if you wanted to give them a formal response to, or not, so I just put it on the action list.
Okay, well, number one was request of the breakdown of Kathy Gary's salary. Question two was the credit card fee, 6% rather than the standard 2 to 3%.
How are we gonna respond to
Yeah.
that, right?
Cafe credit card bills are sent to the business office. The nursing home, Paula never sees these.
Last
I
week,
don't know why she can't see those.
last meeting, you had said that you were gonna wait for the county administrator to be
Mhm.
hired to
Yeah.
decide how they wanted that procedure to go.
Paula is working on the 209 to current and will report on what she believes is collectible.
Mhm.
Number 5, revenue sheet does not reflect actual cash received, but rather amount billed.
Can you read that again?
The revenue sheet does not reflect actual cash received, but rather amount billed.
That has to do with the uncollectible
Oh.
money at the nursing home. At least I, and probably several others, thought that line item for the
Receivable.
revenue was what we actually got in and put in the bank, not what we were billed, and that was
Yeah,
that's the question.
okay.
Number 6 was Paula, how you think the write-off amount is overstated. I don't know how you answer that one. 7, Lino questioned a $64,000 supplemental budget and would like an explanation. That was the union raises for the nursing home.
But his question was, you're showing it as an expense, but you're not showing it being spent. Does that make sense?
No,
No, I said it wrong. You got a supplemental budget, so you're showing it as the money came in,
yeah,
but nothing else changed in the budget to show how it went out.
it goes out as raises, it's in the wages.
But it's not, is what he was saying. He couldn't find where anything had gone up 64,000. The amount was approved here,
That's
but
yeah.
it wasn't added to anywhere in the budget.
You won't find it as
You won't find it.
64,000 because it's all the employees at the nursing home. So it's under LNA line, it's under non-union,
So
so
shouldn't,
it's in different places. You won't see the 64,000.
That 40 cents is built into their
Yeah,
weekly wage.
All the different
and-
departments.
And just add it up, so there would be nothing to compare it against.
so let's say you had, just to make it simple, you have 2 salary lines in the nursing home budget. You come here and you get a supplemental 64,000 in August.
yeah.
And the first salary line was 100,000, and so was the second one. So the budget amount should have gone up to 132 and 132. You would have had to add that 64 into your approved budget column, and that didn't
Had it
happen.
approved as revenue or approved as an expense?
Now,
As a supplementary.
No, what Melissa's saying,
Budget.
and she's absolutely right, if we get,
None of the columns changed.
if we got an extra $64,000 and it was approved, then that should have been dispersed through the salary expense
Right.
Yep.
line items.
Yep.
And in total, they all should have increased to percentage basis, so when you take the before and after, the expense line should have been up 64,000.
But it wasn't.
The amount that we can spend should have been up 64,000. What it sounds like is that they approved the 64, but we didn't add $64,000 to this sheet, the sheet. Because when it says here, year-to-date,
Or it was just, a new line was created with the whole lump.
No,
I'm not exactly
it
sure.
was
but-
40 cents an hour increase, so it had to go to all the
Well,
people in the nursing
he-
home.
So then the annual adopted budget should have gone up 64, right?
Yeah, that's right.
I think that's what he was saying, that
Yeah.
it's not reflected anywhere.
So the annual adopted budget did not go up that?
I believe that's what he was saying.
Well, that should have.
Yeah, should have, you're right.
Unless,
I mean, you might wanna just double check with him, but that's the way I understood it. It wasn't showing on paper where to go.
would
Where
a
was
sup,
it?
go ahead, Jim, sorry.
No, it's just, how is it applied? That's all.
Would a supplementary budget show up as a single line item that, in here, or would it just be added in to?
I don't know how it would be done downstairs.
I think it'd be added in each department,
I think so too.
I do
40
too.
cents per employee per department.
So,
All right, that's
might have to
something we
just
can
get
look at.
clarification from him, but that's the way I understood it.
Number 8 was cafe revenue not posted to county report in October, November, December 14. Why the delay? This is a case where I think both Mrs. Umberger and Mr. McConkey sat downstairs and talked with Kathy Armstrong, and they got it worked out. Kathy Armstrong or Paula, one did it one way, and then they thought that that person was gonna continue to do it, and she didn't think she had to continue to do it, and so it got dropped. But that's been straightened out. Inmate meals shows an expense that is $5,000 more than the Mountain View dining received. That's because they buy other things other than what they get through the nursing home, right?
Yep,
Number 10, it does not appear that January through March 2015, cafe sales, deposits, credit card income are properly posted. No terminal sales recorded for October through December or for January through March 2015.
Does that go along with number 8, and it's been figured out? Now
Probably,
they're on the same page now, so.
yeah.
We should follow up on that one though, Dave, because that, if we're missing a couple months worth of receipts, that's kind of troubling. And did they combine them and take 3 months and put it into 2, or?
I think we need to find out whether they're recording it, if Paula is recording it over there.
That, I'd like to see a reconciliation between Paula's office
Mhm.
and our office to make sure that we don't have some issue there.
Okay. Number 11 was general agreement that credit card statements for cafe transactions be sent to Paula instead of the business office. I think that can be done, but it's paid out of the business office. So the business office has to get it sooner or later. Paula probably should be aware of the credit card statements.
That was the one that when Paula was here, you talked about it 2 weeks ago. And she said, why don't you just leave it the way it is until the administrator
Yeah.
comes in and tells
Okay.
us how he wants, or she wants to do it.
Number 12, money that is generated in the nursing home should stay in that building.
we already voted we weren't gonna do that.
Okay. Number 13, is there a way to link the Mountain View Community Finance to business office system to reduce manual entry, either through direct interface or through electronic transfer? Does that pertain to why we didn't get the 80,000 to put in the cable between buildings?
I don't know.
I don't
That
know
was one
either.
of the things they always said, we couldn't do anything with the information because we couldn't tie the buildings together. If that's what they're talking about, then that's
So
what it is.
maybe John Risch has the answer to that.
Sometimes you can do it through a cable, you know, a link where they talk to each other, or at least in my past experience with like QuickBooks, you can just create a file and email it to someone, and they can upload it into their system. So that's probably also a question for the software vendor next week. If we know what kind of system the nursing home's working on, ask them if those two are compatible that way. Does that make sense?
It does, it absolutely does. I mean,
I don't always know the right.
just because we don't have a coax cable doesn't mean we can't go into Dropbox and send the file between two different people. I mean, that service is available. So it might be faster if we had to coax, but it doesn't limit our ability to exchange information.
And if you've got Paula entering everything over there,
Yeah.
and then it all comes over here and it's re-entered and it gets paid, I mean, just the human error factor, the time, amount
It's
of time
also-
it takes, just seems like a duplication, and
Well, why would Paula enter it and
I
then?
think because she keeps a day-to-day record. You know, they
Very-
stay right on top of their budget, just like
Very
the
day-
jail is doing.
Her information may be a little more accurate because of the timing. She receives it first and doesn't get it over here, but the report gets generated over here. So they don't match, is what happened.
That was a lot of that meeting.
Number 14, Lino motion for a study regarding Mountain View community separating itself from the business office. Chandler said, it is possible to fix the problems without creating a separate standalone system. And they, Paula and Howie agreed this study could be done in 60 days, and they passed it 4-0.
That was the one that we said no, we weren't gonna
Right,
do.
and then 15, McConkey offered the delegation forming a subcommittee to do the study.
In fact, we might go the opposite direction if George comes up here
Yeah.
and convinces us that we should roll it back into the county.
All right, we do have, did I skip over that? We do have ACS financial system scheduled for next week.
Okay.
Yes, you didn't skip over it,
Okay.
because you said that we ought to let the delegation know.
All right, 17, Representative Butler said he would like to continue to develop a long list of problems and recommendations and get things corrected rather than have the nursing home administrator do a separate study at this time. Cordelli, 18, the finance system vendor should be brought in to understand the software capabilities. And that's what we're gonna be doing next week.
Yep.
Okay, subcommittee requests an exact accounting of the nursing home bond balance. Subcommittee will also discuss a recommendation at their July meeting regarding the future of the annex.
That's an easy one.
That's gonna be an easy one, yeah.
We don't have any money, so it isn't coming down.
We still have $500,000, right?
The annex is the old nursing home.
I've asked Commissioner Babson to find out what the exact cost for tearing down the 2 wings of the old nursing home. And that includes repairing the roof section where they tore it down. I think that's a separate bill.
Well, the last time, the bid was like $490, and then we ran into extra asbestos in there.
That's
And-
asbestos,
and the-
yeah.
And the final bill, I've heard 3 different times, was $510,000.
Let's get the accurate figure.
I'll find out.
If you go through
Okay.
the billing, I bet Kathy Armstrong could dig up all the checks that were
Okay.
signed to that. What was it, Excel?
Yep.
The company that did it?
Self-construction.
All right, those are the questions.
New market.
How long ago was that?
How long ago was this?
No,
Probably
did
did it
they,
last summer,
no, did they tear the nursing home down? How long ago?
last summer.
Last
Yeah.
summer?
Yeah,
So you know the costs are gonna be up, what, a couple percent from what that was. I mean, we're not gonna get the same bargain I think we had then. So, okay.
okay, response to the list of county questions, that's what we just went over. Management letters. Okay,
I'm gonna
you're gonna check in
I'm
on
gonna
that.
check with Jesse. So, do you guys agree we don't have one for 2009?
I'm not sure about 2009, but what
But we
DRS
should have-
said, they did not have 10, 11, 12, 13.
I'm convinced, I think it was 2010, that there was one in their audit.
Okay,
Okay, well,
she said she didn't.
I'll get
those.
copies of whatever they have, and I don't know if 12 is ready, but I should be able to get 10 and 11 from the
Okay.
audit firm.
Okay, and they need to be sent to Kate, Kathy Gary, know her last name, but she's one of the ones from DRA.
Yep.
Okay, list of delegation of pending cases and copies of legal bills that make up the 2015 year-to-date legal expenditures. That's in the works. If not already done. Incumbent funds, listing of funds.
Excuse me, Dave, on that one, do you think they were after the actual copy of the bill? As well?
Copies of legal bills.
Yeah, that's what they asked for.
But are they just asking for the total, or do they want us to get them out and photocopy
I think they
the
want all of the
number of
cases.
how much it is? I think we should do it, because I don't think they understand how much it costs every time someone picks up the telephone here and calls the law office. And
Oh, I wasn't thinking of detail, I was thinking of
that's what I'm talking
a
about.
case that all the expenses was charged to that one case.
No, I was thinking
You
of the
think of
detail.
detail?
I think they want detail of what makes up the money that you've spent so far. That's just.
Okay.
Well, you know, when we're talking about legal bills, are you talking about throughout the county? I mean,
Yeah.
well, you know, it's like when we go out and get the TAN bill,
Yep.
I mean, we've got, what, $600 worth of legal expense to get that $18 million loan. I
Yep.
mean, do they want even
They want
that?
us to go out and get the money without ever having anybody look at the,
Well, come on.
that's what they're at, that's
Nobody's gonna give you $18 million without having an attorney look at the contract.
absolutely, but they, you know, they're complaining that we spent money on that. I think, I don't know which one it was, but one of them was complaining that we spent money on it. Well, you know, you go get a mortgage, you don't just say, give me the mortgage and I'll walk away.
You got 3 attorneys. You
Yeah.
got the bank attorney and close the.
All right.
So, well, let's get that clear, we're looking at detail?
Yep.
Okay.
Incumbent funds, listing of funds encumbered from 2014, including amount from insurance proceeds for poll bond and where the money is being held.
Well, Kathy's the only one that can help us with that.
Yep. And she has that 10,000. Well, the 10,000 has been, because we have 2 years to spend it, and that's going over 2 years, so it's been put back into the pool of money. Into the, so it's not recorded as now a insurance settlement.
Wait, wasn't part of that 10,000, wasn't that an insurance?
Yes, it was.
Well, didn't they cancel it? Aren't they not gonna pay it because we
No,
didn't build the building?
They paid us 13.8 then,
Yep,
they gave us 10. And
Okay,
held 3.8 until we finished
okay, so
the
the,
project and the delegation chose not to,
Okay.
chose to let them keep the money.
so the 3.8 is gone, but we
Yes.
do have the 10.
Yes.
Okay,
So the funding has lapsed and it's gone back into the general fund?
Yep.
Yes.
because it lapsed
So
in
it's
3
now
years.
available without being
Yep.
raised
Yeah,
again,
right.
so.
Yep, yep.
Because the issue
And
was,
cost
Yeah,
estimate
legal.
for outside vendor to process payroll for all county departments. How would we go about doing that?
Well,
You got an accounting,
there's about 15
Yeah.
services that do payroll. All we have to do is bring one in or bring 3. I mean, are we looking for an estimate or are we looking for a quote?
obtain cost estimate for outside vendor to process the payroll, to get out of the payroll business.
Let me, I think Wakefield has a outside service doing their payroll. Let me get the names of some of the local
Okay.
businesses.
Isn't
that-
ADP or one of them?
Yeah,
something like-
there's numerous ones around, but typically they have to have the ability to do federal and state taxes in Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, and Mass. We wouldn't have anybody outside of those states working here, but I'll
Okay.
get a quote. I'll call somebody.
Okay, next one is on the leave time policy. I think that was my deal where I thought department heads should let us know when they're on leave. And that was an exception on that leave form. And HR
That's corrected
was
anyway, isn't
going
it?
to correct it, yep. Trail project, Ossipee Rotary.
And the telephone poles are being picked up this week.
Okay, contracted services, Mr. Chandler to draft RFP to solicit proposals for contracted therapy services. asked to contact at least 6 vendors and place RFP on county website. He hasn't mentioned that, I don't think anything, well, I shouldn't say nothing's been done, but,
That's a fairly new one.
yeah.
Yeah, he said that he was gonna go out and get bids.
Yeah.
When did our contract expire with,
Genesis.
Genesis? Isn't that about this year sometime? Cause he said when it expired, he was gonna go out and get bids. So
Okay.
that's a work in process there.
5-year plan, I haven't heard Jason talk about a 5-year capital plan for the,
No, but you know those forms that we sent out to ask these guys on what their capital needs are? The 3 of us
Yep.
sent it out.
Yep.
That would be,
when's that coming back?
we told them we wanted it within up to 6 weeks, and we sent it out about 4 or
Yeah.
5 weeks ago, so that
Okay.
should be coming in soon. So that would cover it. That form we sent out would cover what Jason's got here.
Okay. Rural from SAU 9, did you,
Yes, I did, and I gave it to Tom, and as he said, he had the contract here this morning.
okay. So, county attorney,
Just for the record, on that one, I spoke to the headmaster of Freiburg and the superintendent of schools in whatever the Freiburg School District is in.
okay.
Oh. Yeah, that's that's in Maine, so it's,
Yeah,
I don't know what,
it isn't,
yeah.
it isn't an SAU, they have another
No.
name for it.
It's on your sheet, MSAD 72.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
Good for you.
There was a whole lot of questions that were asked by Mr. Ben, B-E-H-N, who is the president of Hales
Location.
Association.
Is that the letter he sent to Karen?
Yes, yeah. I responded back to Karen saying the secretary is hired by the commissioners, paid by the taxes from Hales Location. The question was a letter sent to the SAU 9, SAU 9? And yes, it was, to get us out of the contract for the high school kids. What is in limbo is, what do we do, and maybe you asked that question, what do we do with the kids that are not high school age, that don't go to Freiburg Academy? Do they continue in our school system, or do we send them over to Maine?
That was gonna be part of the contract,
Okay.
the discussion.
But Dave, this Mr. Ben, he's the association, he's not the taxpayer group.
No,
So why do we even have to respond to him?
that's my thought.
I mean, we don't have anything to do with the association. When we go up there as selectmen, we're talking to the group of individuals that show
Right.
up, and they're the taxpayers that are interested. He's part of in fact, I don't,
He can ask all these questions as a taxpayer in Hales Location,
yeah.
but he can't ask them as part of the association.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we have any obligation to respond to him, do we, as selectmen? I mean, we don't represent, or the association doesn't have anything to do
Nothing to
with
do with
us.
us.
So why do we even
The
respond?
association is a group of taxpayers from Hales Location, and
That takes care of the lighting, the water, the roads.
but that's all part of the
I'm not sure what
association.
That's part of the
That's not part
association.
of them.
Yeah,
We
Yeah,
take care of the
town.
schools, the fire, the ambulance,
so,
and the taxes.
Well, that was my next question. If Denny's correct, but we do hire Mrs. Vasad, we
Yep.
do sign the contract for the
Yep.
schools, we do sign the
And your
ambulance
contract is a
contract.
yearly contract.
Yep, and we do, in the fire, we sign that.
yeah.
Um,
But
One of-
but the stuff we're doing doesn't have anything to do with what the association is doing. I
No.
mean, they're
No.
two
you're right.
distinct groups, so,
Yep.
you know, if
Well,
he has some,
they're the same group,
yes,
but they're not the same group.
yes. So I guess my question is, I mean, Karen said, what are you gonna do about this, how are you gonna respond to this?
Yeah.
I don't wanna be too blunt, but I mean, really, I don't think we should be responding to the association and the taxpayers, to me,
Go to
as
the
selectmen,
taxpayers.
we go to the taxpayers,
Yeah.
that's who we respond to,
Yeah, yeah.
so.
The only case where we did part of their work was on the roads.
Yeah,
We had money left over, because we kept billing for the kids in school, so we had a surplus, we took that surplus, and we made sure that it was for everybody. There's a conflict in Hales location where there's 3 or 4 places that don't belong to the association, but are within Hales location. It's a messy deal. And the way we set it up was either everybody, because of taxpayers, not just the association, everybody gets their roads done, and that was what happened. All the roads were done, even those people that didn't belong to the association.
well,
Go ahead.
that meeting we had around Christmas time, what we found out is some guys haven't paid their dues, therefore they're not getting their roads plowed.
Yeah.
I mean, so they've got some infighting
Yeah.
in
Oh,
there,
yeah.
and I really don't wanna get in the middle of these
No,
disputes.
no, no.
I mean, we got enough issues running the county.
But at some point, as their selectmen, I think we have an obligation to answer some of their questions. And I don't know what the format is. Do we hold a selectmen's meeting and let them come
We
in
can,
and ask?
yep, we can do
And then
that.
answer the questions, or, I mean, if they come in as taxpayers, we have an obligation
That's
as
right,
the
but-
selectmen to answer questions.
Yeah, but I think what we should say is, bring these up during a selectmen's meeting,
Mhm.
representing the taxpayers, as opposed to a letter from the association.
Right.
That's the only distinction.
They also are questioning the clerk, as to the amount of time that she works there. And we talked about that at
Yeah.
that last meeting.
Yeah,
You know, her contract is on an annual basis.
March 1st.
We can put it out for bid to qualified individuals, and change the contract so that more time is spent there. She's only there like an hour and a half on a Friday. And there probably should be more time than that. On the other hand, there's about 150 some, plus or minus, homes in there that we don't handle registrations, that's all done through the town of Conway. Any voting that's done is done through the town of Conway,
Which they complained about one.
which they complain about because it costs money, the town sends us a bill for doing that.
well, again, until, I don't wanna rock the boat until we get all these audits completed.
Yeah,
We got,
yeah.
every time we're getting something from Jesse, it's going to Kathy and it's going to Kathy Fassard, because we have to do the
They're doing
taxes
the audit
up
over
there.
there, yep.
And,
Yep.
until we get current on the audits, let's just, my recommendation, let's not rock the boat, let's get current. And then next year, if we wanna go out and put that job out to bid, let's do it.
Yep. Okay,
Thank you for doing this,
You're
young
welcome.
lady,
Yeah.
it's helpful. It's
It
nice
really
to have
is.
that follow-up,
Keep it on track.
yeah.
okay, if my figures are right, and I think they are, and they double-checked what figures they gave me before regarding our expenses, our revenue, and the amount to be towards reducing taxes. I come up with roughly $2,543,734. I have a question about 85,000 of that, which you can help me decide which way to go on it.
Could you give us that figure again, please?
Out of the 209 to 215, 2015, there was only 1 year, and that was 2011, where we overspent our expenses by 85,000, almost $86,000. Now, what happened was that was then taken out of the revenue that came in, which is probably illegal. But that's what happened because it ended up being the same. But that same year, we took $2,500,000 to reduce the taxes. Now, what I did was, I took what the difference in revenue that we expected to have come in as to what we actually had come in. And then I looked at the next year as to how much we put towards reducing taxes. And when you figure that out year by year, going down through, from 2009, I don't know what we had starting in 2009, this is just what's on this paper. We come up short by $2,543,000. One year, 2014, the revenue, the actual revenue was down from the estimated by $822,000. All the other years, it was a positive, but when you take what we put to reduce taxes, we put too much money in to reduce taxes that we didn't have
Yes.
by $2,543,000 roughly. Now, how would you like to have this presented or worked up in a different sheet so you can look at it on paper? I can put it up there, but it'll take a while to do it.
Well, I think if you could just put it on a piece of paper for
Okay.
the three of us, and then I think we should send this out to Kate in DRA,
Yep.
and let her noodle on it and see if she agrees with the way we put this together, but,
These figures all came off our annual report.
okay. The DRA is gonna have to start to get a mental framework of where we are and how we got to where we are, and
Yep.
a summary like this, I think, would be advantageous for them to
Okay.
be able to take a look at it. It's a quick review of how fast we can get
Yeah,
the public.
as you said, we
Yep. That's
reduced
$8 million.
taxes by 7 million
Yeah.
something over those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years.
Yeah,
That reminds you mentioned Kate, we got the perspective worksheet here.
yeah,
If you notice, the first one is,
happened last week.
happened last week, and the next one is Wednesday of next week.
I wonder if the first one last week was a meeting in Concord for them to get the
I
ducks.
think
Well, I
so.
couldn't tell, I wrote back and asked some questions, are they talking about when they say meeting day, are they coming here, or is it
You know,
Concord, or?
Could
No,
be either.
It could be either, and it's gonna be, they're gonna come here and get information, they're gonna meet here, they're gonna meet there. But I think that I read the same one, and
Yep.
it appeared to me that was a meeting in Concord to get ready for
Okay,
their initial visits here.
Now,
well, they want one of us, so I think I read in there, they want one of us there for what are we gonna do if they come on a Wednesday?
I will be at their meeting since I'm gonna be the one signing the okay, the so-called contract for the review. So I will be wherever they need me to be.
Well, that's certainly important, but it's also important when we run our weekly business here. Maybe we should consider meeting on Thursday or on
Yeah, we can
Tuesday
do
on the
that.
weeks.
What, are they coming every Wednesday, is that?
No, there were just a couple of them, but there
Yeah.
were a couple of Wednesdays.
Yeah, okay, if they're coming, the days they're coming here,
I'm all
yeah,
aboard.
let's go to Tuesday or Thursday so
Yeah,
we can
yeah.
continue to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else we're gonna
No?
consider today?
So are we straight on the check signing? We know what, we're gonna have to, sign up some dates here so we don't end up with payroll checks down there and nobody to
Oh.
sign them. So,
Well, you two have been signing the checks.
Yeah.
They've been using my stamp when
Yeah.
one of you weren't here.
I forget, what did
I would suggest
Chip
that
say? We
you
could
need to get
use his, and one live, one from us, isn't that what he
Yeah.
said?
yeah,
So, one of you find out where his stamp is or who's got it.
for my carpal tunnel, well, it's gonna be hard for me to sign.
Oh, yeah. That rubber arm
You
is
can
a
fight
beach from
amongst
Switzerland.
I will say DRA did say that if they have to go to our auditor, then
We
there
have
may
to
be
pay for
more
it.
money involved.
We have to pay for it.
We'll have to pay for it. They're not gonna charge us anything, they're doing that as a,
Yeah.
trying to
Well,
help us out.
hopefully, the stuff they need from the auditor, they can send it via email and so forth. I hope they don't have to go to Portland to meet with these guys, but we'll find out.
Did you hear Ken from Stratford County last week say that the auditing firm comes to their facility?
Yes, and
Who
I,
does?
yeah, but I,
Really?
Yeah.
and I think it's gonna be, once they get current, so they're just doing 1 year at a time, my guess is they're gonna come here for 2-3 days every year. But they're not gonna do that until they get current. After that, I've never seen an audit firm yet that doesn't show up on site. So I'm surprised they're doing it the way they're doing it,
Yeah.
but I understand it because they're trying to get caught up. But once they get past that, they're gonna be coming here for a couple,
I hope.
3 days a week. They all do.
Except then, right from the get-go, they said they weren't coming here.
Well, I think they,
Before they ever looked at anything, they said it's a lot less expensive for them to sit over there in Portland and get stuff sent over the internet to them and work over there than it is to come over.
exactly, because they were low bidder.
Yeah.
Okay, now, once we get done with 2014, if we go out for bid, now, who was it, who was the other audit firm that was mentioned?
I don't remember, we've got it, I'm sure we got it downstairs as to who put in a bid.
Yeah, all we have to do is get hold of the county association and find out what firms are auditing counties and send out a request for proposal to 3 of them and get a bid back and then we'll see if we want to stick
Grafton
with it.
said that they just changed over to
Yeah.
a couple of years,
Yep.
within a couple of years.
Exactly,
They changed their auditing firm.
yeah.
To whom? Oh,
I don't know. who
No,
they went-
it's not, no.
No.
Right now, the only one I'm aware of, Bo is doing Stratford and Carroll County, and, I mean, we just have to,
Stratford's very satisfied with
I know
how
they
they're
are.
doing it.
I know.
they love them. They
But
said
they
it
had
was
a
hell on
problem
wheels the first
initially.
couple of years,
Yeah.
that's what he told me.
Yeah.
I don't have any issue with what they're doing, I don't, they're,
I will try to get George up here next week if possible.
okay.
Count on a long day.
Well, at
Get going,
10:30,
you'll be up like
that
this.
Skype thing will be on. But it
I
might be-
wouldn't do it next week with ACS.
Both of them?
We gotta have, they're gonna plan to be here on the tube here at X amount an hour.
Yeah,
And George gets wound up, we may not.
yeah, okay,
Maybe we had to do George following.
the following week, all right,
And that'll probably give him more time to,
yeah.
now, do you think he's gonna bring anybody with him, or just,
I don't
I mean,
think he
whatever he
has
wants.
to, but he could bring the administrator,
yeah,
because right now they're going through a nursing home inspection.
that audit?
Yeah, yeah. And that's why Bauer wasn't here.
Okay.
Is somebody putting together specific questions for the software vendor, or?
I was gonna ask that question, you know. That's why we've got to,
I don't-
let Mr. Cardelli know, because he'd be the one that would wanna ask the most questions.
And with enough lead time to actually figure out. I mean, it's not like it's a presentation where you're looking at new software, you're trying to ask questions about what you already have, and
You know,
how do you know what to ask?
I really think, depending on the first 2 or 3 questions and what kind of response we get, I think that's gonna lead to more in-depth questions.
Well, one of the questions would be, well, not to that firm though, it would be to, what's our timing
Chronos?
company?
Chronos?
Chronos,
Chronos.
well, the Chronos can do the checks,
Hmm.
and we don't have to deal with ACS. And why is it that we just found out that,
They could do a spreadsheet
they could do a
2 days
spreadsheet,
before
right?
Christmas.
Yeah. And,
Wow.
and what's his name said it would be possible to do that back in 2003.
Well, when I called them out there and I hometown, they told me they've had that ability for 8 years to download onto Excel, and they keep enhancing the download abilities to make it more user-friendly all the time, so.
I know we've had updates on that machine. Why Kathy didn't put in for Excel, who knows? Yeah. But we have had updates.
Well, I personally love Excel, and I'm very dissatisfied with these sheets, because it just doesn't give me the flexibility to take the numbers home and fool around on my PC with them like I like to do, so.
Okay, we're all done for today?
Yeah, motion to adjourn.
Seconded.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye.